Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. How are you doing? Yes, please put your DNA on the thumbs up. Like the video. Thank you very much. Thank you a little bit, 666. Oh, right. You remind me of all the demons. It was good, Door Opinion. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, KJ. Thank you to everybody who wished me happy birthday. It was a hard day though. I hope next year it does not include a trial. And if there is one, please let it not have such devastating news, please. But RJ Lame, thank you. Appreciate that. Chris, I starred your comments so I could come back to them and access them whenever it's a good opportunity to do so. I'm super stoked about this one, but then y'all know how I am, and I tend to overthink everything, so then I jumble it. So, I apologize ahead of time if that's what I do, but it's so much, and I just want people to understand how connected these cases really are. And, I mean, to me, it's just Chad and Lori Daybell are just one fragment of it. And, again, this is just my opinion. If there ever was a cult leader, it's not Chad Daybell. It may be in this case, whatever. I don't know how everybody's got to hash it, but in my research and everything, I believe that Tim Ballard would be the one that's propped up to be the Mormon prophet, the president of the United States and the prophet of the Mormon church, the future prophet, as alleged by Sherston Stockwell, who was a former, well, I think she's former, an OUR employee who was taken to Thanksgiving Point by Ken Krogh, Tim Ballard, Tom Harrison, and Hugh Vail. And I'm sure there were other people there, but this is what she said. And it was reported long ago, before any of this came out, by Lynn Packer, or I don't know if it was long before. He's been reporting on OUR with a video op-ed series on YouTube under Lynn K. Packer. You can find it on YouTube. I suggest anybody wanting to know more about all the things about OUR, Tim Ballard, M. Russell Ballard, and those people, go find Lynn K. Packer on YouTube. And he's done a few Mormon Stories podcast interviews as well. That's actually how I first found him in 2020. And that's when I was like, oh my God. I know they're connected. At that time, I didn't know how they were connected. But as more and more evidence, more and more facts, more and more, just in these civil lawsuits from, I think it's up to 7 women or 7. There's a husband and wife in one scenario. So, I mean, it's even by a man too, for just shadiness, just straight shadiness. Let me hush so I can get on with this, right? So, anyways, we're just gonna kind of let's just go. Let me just go to it, right? So let me pull this up and let me fix the aspect there. All right, so this is an amended, this is a plaintiff's motion to amend complaint. Okay, so it's by Sasha, I think it's how you say it, Sasha Lee Hightower, Mary Hall, Kira Lynch, DS, and MK. Some of them go by initials, pseudonym. I don't know really what to call it, pseudonyms, I guess. But anyways, it just really will detail how interwoven M. Russell Ballard, who was the president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, M. Russell Ballard, when all this came out against him back in mid-September of 2023, last year, and then about let's see, a month and a half later, November 14th, I believe, 2023 is when M. Russell Ballard died. I cried because he's kind of like, as Alex Cox is in just the Lori and Chad Daybell case, M. Russell Ballard is that missing link now, um, in the bigger uh, Ballard verse is what what Lynn K. Packer calls it. It's a metaverse. It's a Ballard verse, and it's far reaching. And there are many more people with these like-minded beliefs, such as I think we met in a past life. And I mean, that is odd enough just in Chad and Lori's case, but for us to hear it in other cases, you're just like, oh, that's so specific, it's specific to Mormon doctrine, early Mormon doctrine for sure. We've already, come to that conclusion. We've done the research on that. And it definitely spawns from early Mormon doctrine. So, I mean, it's a long, whether it's, a lot of people have said that it's been, what do you call that? I don't have the word, but disavowed or, old teachings, they don't teach that now, yada, yada, yada. It's still there. It's still there. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it go away. It's still there. And the fact that, Chad and Lori were both answering questions with their bishop whenever they would do their worthiness meetings every 2 years, whether they were lying or not lying, whatever the case, that's on them. I mean, it still just goes to show you. Look at Melanie Gibb, look at David Warwick. They were having to do the same interviews every 2 years with their bishop. And I mean, Melanie Gibb and David Warwick have been part of this realm long before Chad and Lori ever came to be. And I just really want people to understand that. And Tom Harrison, too. Tom Harrison, Abraham Gigliotti, they were doing these conferences, David Warwick, those three for sure. And this was, I remember a post from Nancy James, and she was trying to, no, was it? No, it wasn't. It was Karen Prier. And it's like she was saying, he was excommunicated. But he was, Abraham Gigliotti was excommunicated back. He was one of the September 6th. You can Google it. You can look in the Wikipedia or whatever, and it'll tell you who the September 6th were. But it was like 6 members of the church who were excommunicated at that time, in September of, I don't remember which year. But anyway, so he was, let back into the church. And I mean, at first he was excommunicated for kind of the spurious doctrine, but I mean, okay, so he's back into the church, Abraham Gigliotti, and nothing's changed. So what got him back into the good graces? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand, and I don't really want to have to do all the gymnastics, the mental gymnastics of what's accepted, what's not, what's taught, what's not. It's irrelevant to me at this point. Like I've seen enough, I know enough, and I mean, there's plenty of people, not just myself, who have found the same exact things. So it's just me trying to wrangle them all together and put them in one place so that, this can be shared with all the way up to mainstream. I mean, it would be nice if these people would be called out, not just by YouTubers or people on TikTok, but by mainstream media. It would be nice if they would pick this aspect of the story up and really get to the bare bones of this, of why Tylee, JJ, Charles, Tammy, and even Joe are dead, and where these beliefs, you know, stray from just being beliefs or whatever, or mainstream. It just, anyways, it's just so deep. It is so deep. And there's so many layers to this. Again, when you're just looking at it, first time, fresh eyes, and you're just somebody who just, let's say they come right in for the first time and they're like, oh yeah, but then you peel that that first layer back, and then you're like, "Oh my god." Well, there's so many of those moments, so many of those layers that shock the crap out of you. I mean, and you're just like, "It can't be," you know? I've done this in my own research, in my own, justice through understanding, trying to understand as much as can be understood why Chad and Lori did the things that they did, why they believe the things that they believe, and what is pushing this? Who is pushing this? Who is giving and calling shots, you know? Who's the shot caller? But anyway, so that's kinda where I'm at. Alright, so let me take a sip. So, I'm glad y'all are here. I've been looking forward to this. I was gonna do it yesterday, but I had another gallbladder attack, and I was dying yesterday morning. I mean, it was so bad. Ugh, I don't wish that on anybody. So I didn't go to the hospital that time, but I got comfortable enough where I was able to go to sleep. Whenever I woke up, it was gone. So I was like, okay, I'm not even going to question it. Let's just go. All right. So this is let's see what page this is. Where is it? All right, well, let me just start. It's at the very beginning. Hearing requested is Judge Chelsea Koch, I think you say. Civil number 230907617. Plaintiffs by and through counsel of record and pursuant to Utah R Civil Code hereby move this court for leave to file the proposed second amended complaint, which is attached here too as Exhibit A. Plaintiffs seek to add causes of action recognized by the Utah legislator and Utah code, and they give the code, dated this 26th day of April 2024. Okay, so this was just last month, at the very end of last month. Okay, and so Donna shared this with me, and she had told me this, I want to say Thursday of last week, and I was like, "Let's go live. We're gonna go live," you know, and then uh, common sense was like, "Hey, just chill out, relax. Scheduled this for Saturday. Couldn't do it Saturday yesterday because I didn't feel well, so we're doing it now." And then, of course, we have week 5 beginning. I think it's week 5 of Chad Daybell's trial, and we pick back up tomorrow morning, Monday here. We stream it here on Difficult Research. We stream from Judge Boyce's YouTube channel, and we're going to go back on the stand with special agent, FBI agent Steve Daniels, or former FBI agent. He's moved on. Not dead. Anyways, of course. Oh my God. Let me hush. All right. So, but he's gonna start again with how basically Tylee and JJ were found. And I mean the details were horrible. Even though we knew a lot of it, it's just, I mean, again, I'll address all that at the end. So and I wanna talk about so many things, and it sucks because there's a lot to cover. Alright, so this is the April 26, 2024. Okay, and it's a plaintiff's motion to amend complaint. Alright. Okay, so in the 3rd judicial, I'm not gonna try and read every page, but it's against, defendant Timothy Ballard and et al., so all the other parties listed, parties, jurisdiction, and avenue. Plaintiff Sashali Hightower is an adult citizen in Utah. Mary Hall, adult citizen, Utah. Karen Lynch, same thing. Plaintiff DM, same thing. Defendant Timothy Ballard, he's also a resident of Utah. Catherine Ballard is also listed in this lawsuit. Defendant Operation Underground Railroad, OUR. Even though Tim Ballard left it, there are some really sketch things that we're going to learn. Okay. Defendant Rockwell Group, Utah Corporation, named after famed Mormon hitman. Just think about that. Porter Rockwell. He's not too friendly. Defendant Nazarene Fund. That is the Nazarene Fund, which is a nonprofit, another nonprofit organization where Glenn Beck, David Barton, he's not even Mormon. He's just like he lives in Texas and he is out there. Okay. He's out there. I have a video that I did about the Nazarene Fund on my YouTube channel. Okay. So and Tim Ballard, those three are part of the Nazarene Fund. Okay. Then we have Defendant Liberty and Light doing business as the Spear Fund. The Spear Fund pretty much came onto the scene after Tim Ballard was kind of forced out of OUR because all this stuff was coming down the pike, and they're like, "Oh hell." And they're running and they're like, "You got to go over here." And I mean, basically it's just shifting people around and hopefully I think this is how they think. I really do. This is just my opinion, but I think that all these people who are involved in all these sketchy things, they're just like, okay, let's just shuffle around, move around, rebrand, and everybody will forget. Out of sight, out of mind, and I'll be damned. Okay, I'm like a plunger. I bring up old shit all the time. Okay. That's pretty obvious, but because it's important, to my family's murders. And I want to get to the bottom of this so that we can be aware, educate others, and we can maybe prevent this from happening over and over and over again. So, which claims, okay, Defendant Liberty and Light doing business as the Spear Fund, which claims to be a trusted 501c3 working to, quote, end human trafficking in our time, unquote. And it's also a Utah nonprofit corporation. Defendant Slave Stealers. Y'all, this was on the whiteboard. I call it the whiteboard prophecy. It's the whiteboard meeting, which is Lynn Packer brought this to light for many of us who were following this story, his reporting on the story. And Russell Ballard, it's a for-profit organization, nonprofit, or I'm sorry, it's a for-profit organization that was supposed to funnel like all the things OUR, uh, children need families. I'm trying to think of them all. I'm not going to be able to. There's also one from Paul Hutchinson, uh, Children Liberation Fund or something like that. It's not even registered, I don't think, or there's no 990s filed. And it was all supposed to funnel, according to Tim Ballard in this whiteboard meeting, was supposed to funnel and go into slave stealers, which M. Russell Ballard, president prophet of the Mormon Church, and as well as like Brad Brower. I'm trying to think. Let me just not get ahead of myself. I forgot what I was thinking right there. Defendant Slave Stealers LLC is a Utah limited liability company owned by defendant there we go. Tim Ballard, Brian Norton, and President M. Russell Ballard. Okay. It's disgusting. But there were that's what it was. Two other Mormon or LDS apostles who donated, or not donated, but backed it financially. Tim Ballard's endeavors, okay? And then there was a meeting back in 2017, I want to say, allegedly, where all 12 of the church hierarchy apostles showed up and, were part of this presentation back in 2017. And then again, there were 3 or 4 Mormon apostles who showed up at the 2019, now infamous, whiteboard meeting, aka prophecy, instead of the white horse prophecy. Haha. Anyways. Okay, so Defendant Liberty 89 is a Utah corporation by defendant Timothy Ballard. That's an interesting one to go look up. Liberty 89. Defendant Children Need Families Foundation is a Utah nonprofit corporation. It's okay. Now, Janet Russin, the so-called psychic or sidekick, depending on who you hear, she and Catherine Ballard are part of Children Need Families. I want to say it's not registered either. So, but they basically are the middleman for adoptions. And I mean, that freaks me out just thinking about these people and handling being the middleman or middleman for adopted kids. Freaks me out. Super sus. All right. It says 15 defendant Deacon Inc. is a Nevada corporation. 16 defendant Ballard is the alter ego and face of the above named corporate and company entities, which will be collectively referred to as OUR, as Ballard wore many hats within the companies and no distinctions between the companies were made. So he's just, many hats, just going between all these corporations and there's no separation. Um, the other thing is I remember getting an email from April Raymond. I mean, this was a while back, maybe last year or year before. I don't remember when, but and I mean, this is the only person I've ever heard it from, so I don't know whether it's true or not, but it would just be interesting to know that she had said that Chad and Lori had invested money. I'm sure it was blood money, allegedly, into a organization, I want to say in Nevada, that was called, I'm trying to think of it the whole time I was saying it, starts with an I. Mm, Ignite or something like that. Anyways, I'll have to jog my memory on that. I'm sure it'll, come to me while I'm going through this. So it would just be interesting to learn more about that aspect of it. And there was another Mormon guy who was also part of this organization or somewhere in the realm of it who died suspiciously. And I would love to look in that, but there's so many things going on right now. It'll be there when the trial is over and I'll have more time. We can hash it out then. So, um, defendant Ballard is okay. I already said all that. Number 17, defendant Janet Russin is an adult citizen and resident of the state of Utah. 18, defendant Craig Anderson. This is related to Tim Ballard, okay? Is a member of OUR's board and is and is an adult citizen and resident of the state of Utah and is the uncle to defendant Tim Ballard. I think this is where I need to look, or if anybody knows, please let me know. Because I mean, I'm just, I'm just like, they have to be related. They have to be related. If you follow the Hamblin case, David Hamblin, Gordon Bowen, David Levitt, those types, the original, basically the original Satanic Panic Utah case back in the 80s that was made known or brought to light by Mormon bishop at the time, Glenn L. Pace, okay, who is, I mean, if you can Google it, you can find the Glenn Pace memo, and it's a document that he created where he did his own investigation into a lot of these satanic panic allegations of child sacrifice, ritual murder, um, ritual abuse, which I think is a perfect example of what you see with Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie over there. And then and then there's so much crap, right? Take a breath. Let's just take a breath. Oh, pop the neck. But I mean, it's just you can't have this many things in my opinion. Like that's what I told my mom when I was in Boise. I was like, whenever I saw the Hamblin case pop up on my radar, it was because Fox 13 News reported on it. And I was like, child, the headline read something like um, ritualistic child sex abuse involving cannibalism. And I was like, what the frick? And I mean, the kids had just been, Tylee and JJ had just been found on Chad Daybell's property. And I mean, Utah and then Salt Lake City, area, and then right there in mini Salt Lake City. That's what Rexburg has been dubbed as, not by me. So I'm just like, oh my God, no, that is nuts, right? So that's when I fell into that rabbit hole. or that case. It's, I mean, these real allegations that have not been proven in court because it never can get to court, if you know what I mean. It gets to the courts and then, it's just these people get away with things. Roselle Hamblin, she's an Anderson, is her maiden name. And I wonder if she is related to defendant Tim Ballard. Okay. You got Uncle Craig here, Craig Anderson. You got Janet Russin. She she okay, so after all the allegations came out about Tim Ballard, she kind of this is what it looks like to me, whether it's true or not, it's between uh uh anyways, let me just go. But Janet Russin appeared on as a guest on this YouTube channel called The Last Dispensation. And there's a guy, he's a active Mormon. His name is Troy Abels. And I mean, I wouldn't sub up to the guy or anything unless you are in support of that. I don't care for the way he blames the victims, the alleged victims. If people are thinking that this is all going to be proven in a court of law, and it's not because it's a civil suit. It's not like it's not a criminal trial, or it's not going to be, battled out like Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, because it's civil. So I'm just saying to take a look at what these women are saying and then match it up, think about all the other things that we hear, what has been brought forth. Take that information, do what you will. You don't have to pick a side or anything. There's no sides, it's just, it either is or it either has something to do with Lori and Chad and how they think and how they believe and how connected they are, or, maybe it can disprove that they are not connected. But anyways, so that's just a little side or backstory, I guess, well, actually, no, it's not. Because with the Glen L. Pace memo, you also have Thom Harrison, Visions of Glory's Thom Harrison, okay, who allegedly Julie Rowe and Chad Daybell were going to Salt Lake City. I knew him as Portal Guy, okay, straight up. I was like, what the hell is Portal? Who? What? What is all this? Zombies, portals, weird shit, okay, remote viewing, weird stuff. Stuff that I was like, I didn't know anything about. It's just out there, okay? Um, and and then there's allegations, or, hearsay, I guess you could say. I heard Carl Danger on JS for Justice podcast where he had gone over timelines and stuff with Jay early in the case. This is like back in 2020. And there's a clip or whatever where he says that Melanie Pulowski, which is Lori Vallow's niece, she, whenever she was in Hawaii with Lori and Audrey Baratero the weekend of October 19th, 2019, when Tammy Daybell was murdered, when she was allegedly murdered successfully, I'd say, because an attempt had been made on her life on October 9th. And anyway, so that same weekend, I mean, so that kind of corroborates just with the timing, right? I just need to find where Tim Ballard had an Operation Underground Railroad function in Kauai at the same time, because it is alleged that Melanie Pulowski, Boudreaux Pulowski, right, had donated $6,000 to Operation Underground Railroad. And I mean, she had just, she's going through her divorce. Well, it's finalized by this time, October 19th, 2019. And she had gotten divorce settlement, basically from Brandon. They owned a couple companies together. And this is after an attempt was made on Brandon's life, which was October 2nd, 2019. I know a lot of you have seen the video footage, the body or the storage unit footage of not Tammy, Alex Cox, Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow interchangeably going in and out of the storage unit, putting all the kids' stuff in there, basically. Um, and then rolling a tire from Tyler's Jeep and a back seat, putting the back seat into the storage unit. It's like the perfect textbook conspiracy in my mind. Just coming into this, I'm not a legal professional, I'm not any kind of professional, but just from experience, just from learning, oh my God, that's like a textbook case of conspiracy, in my opinion. I'm just like, you see them rolling the tire and the seat in. You know that Chad Daybell is talking to Alex Cox almost all the way back from allegedly shooting at Brandon Boudreaux in Arizona. And he's talking to his brother-in-law, Alex Cox, right? All the way back. They were just chewing it up like some old hens, I'm sure. And I mean, it's just that's whenever Chad Daybell taps Lori on the hiney, and he's married to Tammy at the time. I mean, not that that's shocking because I mean they're pretty depraved people. Loinfire and Lori, it's gross. So I mean, anyway, so all that's going on at that time. And then here we have these allegations or hearsay of Melanie Pulaski allegedly donating $6,000, which is, I just want to know because I can either, check that box and add it to my list, of connections to Tim Ballard, or I can just, disprove it. And I just think it's important. But anyways, 19 defendant Julian and Blake J.A. Blake was a member of OUR's board and is an adult citizen and resident of the state of Utah. Defendant Wes Mortensen is a member of OUR's board and is an adult citizen of Utah, Rexburg. All right. Defendant Benjamin Pack is a member of OUR's board and is an adult citizen and resident of Utah. Defendant Mark Reynolds is a member of OUR's board and adult citizen of Utah. I'm just going to say they're all from Utah, okay? Defendant Mark Blake, M. Blake. I'm sure this has to do with this other Blake. Where'd it go? We just read it. J.A. Blake, Julian N. Blake, okay? I'm sure they could be related, allegedly. Defendant Mark Blake, M. Blake is a member of OUR's board and is an adult citizen of the state of Utah and is the brother-in-law to defendant Tim Ballard. I mean, I really do believe, and I mean, I've heard this, so it's just hearsay, but I've heard that Tim Ballard is actually brother-in-laws with Glenn Beck. They both married, Tim Ballard married Catherine Ballard, and Glenn Beck married, and her last name is weird. It's different. It's like Colonia or something. I don't know. Tanya is her name. And again, it's not corroborated. I haven't vetted it out. I've looked, but it's really hard to find genealogy, records pertaining to Tim Ballard and M. Russell Ballard, even because they're like, we're not related. So I'm like, I automatically become critical of that because it's like, hey, the church is true. You know what I mean? Like, don't look over here. So I look, I'm like, wait, why are you saying that? Why do you feel the need to say that so much? Every article I've read, every legal paper I've read is like, not related, no relation. Okay. And I'm just like, BS. There's some BS right there. So it just hasn't been proven yet, in my opinion. But, some people do have access to the genealogical records. Like, I think the writer on Wheat and Tares had actually, I'd read an article about Tim Ballard and this whole fiasco. And, she was like, they're not related. Trust me. So for what it's worth, I think it's super sketch. And I don't trust anything that any of these people say. Okay. That's just me. Anyways, and not that it would make a big difference, but the fact that if they are related and they're lying, then that's a different, that's big to me because if they're going to lie about the small things, can you imagine what the hell they're lying about on everything else, like saving children from sex trafficking. Just saying. All right, defendant Brad Damon is a member of OUR's board and an adult citizen in the state of Utah. Now, Matthew Osborne is a current or former principal of OUR and TNF as director of foreign ops and other executive positions and is an adult citizen of the state of Utah. Okay, we're going to want to remember Osborne and we're going to want to remember Matthew Cooper because there's two Matts. Okay, like there's two males, there's two Matts. Matt Cooper is a current or former employee of OUR and adult citizen in the state of Utah. Okay, and it tells you Utah code of jurisdiction, venue is proper pursuant. Okay, so right here, number 30, it says pursuant to Rule 26C3 of the Utah Rules of Civil Procedure, the amount in controversy exceeds $300,000, qualifying this claim for Tier 3 discovery. All right. 31. Plaintiffs incorporate the exhibits filed with their first amended complaint as if fully set forth herein. Factual allegations, and this makes me always think of my Uncle Charles because he would say bamboozle. Okay. So, factual allegations. Quote, one of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back, unquote. And that's by Carl Sagan. And I mean, the whole time I was reading that, the Daybell kids were popping up in my mind, and I'm just like, oh man, there's so much evidence, so much that has been said, and come out from this case. Lori Vallow, their stepmom, has already been convicted of murdering her two children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. JJ Vallow is my nephew. Tylee Ryan was my step-cousin. Kay Vallow Woodcock is my mother. Larry Woodcock is my stepfather. And my brother is JJ Vallow's biological father. The drug baby. Right. And Charles Vallow is my mom's brother. So he's my uncle. He's my uncle, and him and Lori were married for almost 15 years. She was my aunt. Okay, it's crazy. Anyway, so I'm related to 3 of the 5 victims, and I include Joe Ryan as number 5. I'm sure there could be more, we never know about Stacy Cox Cope, which she was Lori Vallow's sister, and she was Melanie Boudreaux Pulowski's mom. Anyways, Megan Connor is a cousin of Lori, Stacy, and Alex's and Adam's, and Summer. And she has some very interesting theories about she was the only other person there besides Alex and Stacy when Stacy died. And she shared that with me, Mom, and Larry whenever we were in Boise just recently, last week. It's just interesting. And so she has a channel too. You can check her out. I think the channel name now is Megan Connor. So anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and thank you, Megan, if you're watching, for the happy birthday wishes. That was very sweet. I still got to send the text. All right. So Timothy Ballard is an American activist, speaker, and author. And he was excommunicated publicly, for sure, from the church. And that came out in a Vice article. And it's been said, y'all, that Gordon Bowen, who is part of the Hamblin case, the Satanic Panic, okay, it's alleged that he is the one who actually wrote the email on official church email communication and that's sent to Vice News. And I mean, I'm just like, whoa, why would Gordon Bowen, who's disgusting in my opinion, he's known as the Punisher in the LDS Church of Satan. There's a Church of Satan, then there's the LDS Church of Satan, okay? And so I follow Go L's work, investigation into the Hamblin case. There's 3 of Hamblin's daughters who alleged some horrific ritual abuse that, I mean, if anybody wants to look at the entire case file, videos and all, body cam videos, interviews, and even the reports, the victim statements, or the alleged victim statements, I have to say that, legal purposes, because it's never been proven in a court of law because it never sticks, if you know what I mean. So, like Roselle Anderson Hamblin, she is still in jail right now. David Hamblin bonded out. He was another Mormon therapist who allegedly incorporated peyote and hypnotism and everything in his practice, where you can look up interviews of, or you can request from me. I'll give you the entire case file. It's in my Patreon. Um, I've just never seen anybody else, put all the videos and stuff like that. I've never seen anybody else upload them to YouTube. So I'm just like, well, I don't know what to do, unless I could just do it for members only. I don't really know why nobody else is doing that. Or maybe it's just I'm unaware. I don't know. I got to look more into that. But there's only one of me, and I'm just trying to get a better understanding of the case so I can explain it better or more effectively. But Gordon Bowen is allegedly also, he's M. Russell Ballard's golden boy. They've said, golden boy, golden prodigal son, that kind of relationship. And Gordon Bowen is an interesting character because of what he's been accused of or alleged to have done to the Hamblin daughters, especially Catherine. I mean, it's disturbing. So trigger warning. This whole channel is a trigger warning. Okay. Not trying to, dampen anyone's mood or anything, but I mean, it's just heavy. It's heavy, and it's not just Tylee and JJ, Charles, Tammy, and Joe. I mean, this goes far and wide, really. And it's disgusting. It's offensive. I mean, because I feel like these people are getting away with doing what they're doing, practicing what they're practicing, teaching what they're teaching, believing what they are believing, or whether they believe it or not, or they're just doing it to dupe people. I don't really know about all that, but it's up for debate. I just want everybody to kind of think about it. That's all. Okay. I keep getting further and further off track, but I mean, it's not really. It's just more backstory is what it is. Because Thom Harrison, Visions of Glory author, okay, was under Lori's leg whenever her and Chad were sitting poolside in Kauai, Hawaii, January of 2020. And we saw body cam footage that was released last year during Lori's trial. And I think actually it was a cell phone, one of the police officers' cell phone footage or whatever, but it came in the case file in the trial. And they're being served, or Lori's being served with papers from Idaho courts to produce Tylee and JJ. Okay. I think she had 5 days to do so. And I just want y'all to think back. I don't want to go fetch all that stuff right now because it'll burn more time. But a lot of you who have seen the video, that particular video, Visions of Glory is sitting on, Lori and Chad are both on like these pool lounge chairs or whatever. And they're laying out, just soaking up the sun, right? And she's in a turquoise bikini. And they are approached by the Kauai Police Department, served, and the Visions of Glory book is sitting right under her right knee. Chad, all derpity derp, right? He's like, oh, what you got there? I'm sure he was uninterested, but he had to act, because that's what Chad does, in my opinion, is act. He's not a good actor either. He sucks. So I think the only time that, like we saw Chad cry, I'm going to say allegedly cry. I don't think there was a damn tear that fell. I think he was fake crying. because he heard his own voice fake crying in the 911 call to report that Tammy Daybell, his wife of almost 30 years, had, she was frozen. She was dead. And it's disgusting. But anyways, a lot of you see it, also. So I think Chad can only feel sympathy or empathy or whatever for himself. So we hate your books, Chad. Anyways, but Thom Harrison is alleged to have, back in the day when the Satanic Panic came out, Thom Harrison is alleged to have been reporting directly to church hierarchy, the church leadership. And at that time, it was Gordon B. Hinckley, short little dude. And he was the quote, living prophet and Mormon, living prophet and Mormon president at the time. And he was wanting to allegedly, Thom Harrison was wanting to normalize satanic ritual abuse. Okay. And I guess the church wasn't for it. I don't really know all about that, but these are just allegations. I don't know. It's just something to think about, because all these people have some really close ties to a lot of really important people in this church. And to me, it's too close to home to turn a blind eye to it anymore. I'm not going to do it. Everybody else can, do whatever you do. You don't have to believe me. Do the research yourself. It's out there. It's out there. So anyways, it's just too many close connections, in my opinion. Then you have Jodi Hildebrandt. Think about whenever the diaries or whatever came out of basically Ruby Franke documenting the abuse that her and both Hildebrandt were convicted of just recently in Utah. And they have to serve, I forget, 4 to 30 years or something, which is the weirdest kind of sentencing ever, because you're like, well, how do you know? But a lot of you, have picked up a lot of similarities and connections between Lori Daybell and Chad Daybell. I look at Jodi Hildebrandt like she's Chad Daybell, kind of even manly like that, as much manly as Chad Daybell can be. And as well as a lot of similarities between Ruby Franke and Lori Daybell. So it's very interesting. If you go look at Natalie Lawyer Chick, she does really good video. It's like 30 minutes and just boom, 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 boom. She's a lawyer. So, and she was gracious enough to have me and Jen, the L Mom, True Crime Unveiled, on her channel. It was a long time ago. I was like, oh my God. Anyways, I was still new to the scene, but anyways, but just check that out. All right. I'm going to get back on here because we're only on 33. So Ballard claims, this is number 33, Ballard claims to have worked for the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and as a special agent in the United States Department of Homeland Security, right? Though after being asked what he did for the CIA, he admitted he did nothing, quote, cool, unquote. All right, so I'm going to switch over here real quick because I have this pulled. Well, I have it linked here. Let me share this tab.
Well, the lawsuit says Tim Ballard was an unpaid intern who was fired by the CIA. His LinkedIn page says he was a CIA officer. His Twitter, until recently, said undercover operator, and the church called him a former CIA operative. So I asked the question to him earlier this year, point blank. And as you're about to see, his answer didn't exactly match any of those stories.
If someone had worked for the CIA, but maybe stretched a little bit, no one's going to say anything. It's just kind of like let it go, because there are people that do that.
Peter Warmka is a former CIA case officer who says he never met Tim Ballard, but he has questions, especially after seeing Ballard labeled in promotional material as a CIA operative.
The term operative is not really a term used within the organization.
There's no such thing as an operative. You're either a case officer or an analyst or a support staffer.
Frank Montoya was a special agent with the FBI for 26 years. Most recently, special agent in charge of the Seattle field office. So you didn't work for the CIA, but you know how the CIA works.
Absolutely. I worked very closely with them on a lot of stuff.
We showed both of them the lawsuit filed against Tim Ballard, accusing him of being an unpaid intern who who failed a polygraph test and was fired.
They do have interns. I'm not sure that they're unpaid.
We also showed them Tim Ballard's Twitter bio, quote, CIA and DHS undercover operator. Do you take that to mean that he was undercover for the CIA?
That's my take on it, yes.
And we showed them this interview we recorded with Tim Ballard in February, long before the lawsuit was filed. What'd you do for CIA?
There's too many NDAs. Probably I shouldn't.
Is that...
It was all the cool stuff I ever did with HSI. Yeah.
Got it. Just because CIA is just such a secretive...
Yeah, but it wasn't operational stuff. It was analytical. It was an analyst officer position. Not like, it wasn't like hands-on. Like I said, all the cool stuff is...
So your job was as an analyst?
Yeah, I was an analyst.
Have you ever heard anybody refer to themselves as an analyst officer?
No. Within the agency, we refer to them as secrecy agreements, not NDAs.
It's fair to say that there's a difference between an undercover operator, an operative, and an analyst/officer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the story's changing.
Yeah. Analysts are important. They're hugely important. But what exactly did he do? It's always easy to say, oh, I got to hide behind the NDA. Well, I mean, he acknowledges that the cool stuff was when he was at HSI. So, you know, is the CIA experience even relevant other than to try to entice people into giving him money?
You're not saying he's lying. You're just saying it raises red flags. It raises questions.
Certainly it does.
To me, it'd be kind of confusing, you know, and even more so for the general public. Like, what does all this mean, right? Get to the truth.
We're not the only ones to ask Tim Ballard that question. Another former CIA officer, who asked to not be identified, says when he met Tim Ballard, Ballard downplayed his service, stating he only worked in the CIA watch office. So it's someone who answers phones.
Yeah, it's basically someone who answers phones.
So that would not be the same thing as a former CIA operative.
Hardly. You're just basically making coffee and answering telephones.
If it's something that doesn't at all impact them one way or another, they don't seem to pursue it.
So here's what we've learned. It is extremely difficult to verify whether someone was actually employed by the CIA. If someone says they work there, it means one of three things. Either they didn't have an undercover position, the agency agreed to roll back their cover, or they're lying. We reached out to the CIA. We have not heard back. Reporting in studio, Adam Herbetz, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Okay, so hold on just a second. I was pulling something else up. Let me go back to here. All right. And let me go finish saving that so I can share it with you because it's just so interesting to me. And I think it ties it more and more together between all these cases. And so I'm not just like making this up. Okay. It's not just my brain, you know. Let's see. Let me go to here. Okay, so I just kind of pulled these together. This is the investigation in ritual abuse by Goel. I've talked to him on the phone for 3 hours because I left a comment under his Substack, which I subscribe to. I'm a paying subscriber because, you know, it's not free to do all this stuff. But and I just really am so interested in wondering if JJ, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. If Lori and Chad are another part of this entire case, or all these people, the Hamblin case that again was one of the more original, more well-known when the Satanic Panic came out. I don't know. I was young then, so I don't remember it. My mom didn't remember anything about it either. I was like, Larry knew what I was talking about, but mom hadn't. And I mean, so that I know for sure I never saw it or heard about it until Tylee and JJ. And then this case flew up on my radar because of Adam Herbetz on Fox 13 News. Back in, I want to say 2022, could have been 2021, but I'm not sure. But I mean, again, that's just an ongoing battle, trying to hold these people accountable since the 90s, I want to say. So, I mean, that's a long stretch for these alleged victims to have to even try to prove their case, to put their perpetrators alleged perpetrators, through a trial to get justice. And I mean, I think it's ridiculous. It really is. It's disgusting. But let me see what else. I have a few of these pulled up. These are from the Hamlin case, and these are from the alleged victims' point of view, victim statements that are in that. They have priesthood blessings in here, all the things. Okay. This is experience number 2. Let me make sure. Let me see if I'm going from the experience number 4, 1993, Provo, Utah. One common thread was that redacteds and I would be cut from our, the V word, to our jaw if we disobeyed during ceremonies or grape. They frequently took a sharp object and would use the dull edge to trace where we would be cut. During one ceremony, Joe Binion took one of his ceremonial objects, part of a deer antler, and inserted into, and scraped it around. I was lying flat on my back on a blanket and had been forced to remove all my clothes. He took the antler and traced that line, pushing hard enough for me to have a long welt all the way up. I had that mark for days. Experience number 5, Salt Lake City, Utah. This is Rosie, their mother. Rosie Anderson. Okay. Hamblin, she's now Stevenson. She's married to Ford Stevenson. Okay. Rosie was on a type of probation with the council. And when they say council, they're talking about the LDS Church of Satan, or CS for short, or they refer to themselves as the group also. Okay. Rosie was on a type of probation. She talked a lot about how she was worried about what they would do to her. She took redacteds, that'd be her sisters, and me to Salt Lake to see Gordon Bowen, who is, quote, the Punisher, unquote, for the council. Redacted, and I were taken up to Gordon Bowen's house. When we got up there, no one was home. Rosie had us help prepare a meal for him, and when he arrived a while later, Rosie went and ate with him. Redacteds and I cleaned up the kitchen and then went and freshened ourselves up like she had instructed their mother. When they were finished eating, he invited us into his dark office where he indicated that Rosie was permitted to speak. She had coached us extensively beforehand that we were to back up everything she said to him. We had been forced to promise to that. However, when the time came, the most we could, However, when the time came, the most we could do so was not slightly and mouth a mute agreement. That's weird. He listened for a while and then seemed to grow tired of her many requests and complaints. He stood up and invited us to go see his latest project. Trigger warning. Okay, he took us to his workshop, and as we walked in, we could see the body of a man who had been skinned, hanging up with a rope around his neck. Gordon had elaborate machines and tools that were obviously used for torture and the preserving of the bodies of his victims. It was a little bit like a hospital with so much equipment everywhere, but there were strange smells I did not recognize, and some I did, like formaldehyde, rubbing alcohol, blood, urine, and semen. He started pointing out objects and explaining what they were used for. Many of them looked quite old. They were all horrible and ugly things. Then he led us to where we had things that looked like bizarre mannequins. Oh, God. He explained to us they were the skins of some of his victims. They were skins of people he had murdered, and he had put them over a sort of frame so they would look somewhat human again. Some of them could be worn like a freaking costume. Didn't say freaking, but anyways. Oh, God. Rosie was bright-eyed and interested, asking questions. I was terrified. He moved on and showed us masks he had made from the skins of more people. They were even some of teens, kids, and babies. Most of them had hair still attached. That was dirty and, let me back this out, and smelly from being used. He told us how he took great care to keep some definition to the faces. He said that they were powerful because the spirits of the people were still attached to them. Rosie turned to Gordon and said that she and David Hamblin would like to offer us as a gift to him to do what he liked, to do with as he liked. He acted like he wasn't quite listening and motioned to her to continue to the next room for the next of the tour. But when we got to the door, he closed it behind her, locking us in with him. Redacted did not try to open that door, get us out of there, call to us, or go for help. Rosie. She left us in there with him. I wish I could describe how horrific the next 20 or so hours were. Hours. Okay, so it's so hard. I don't even want to repeat it. I can't imagine if this is true. I cannot imagine. Okay. Gordon made us undress, and he did a huge variety of things to us, including tortured, raped, sodomized, whipped, chained, and urinated on us, and made us do the same things to ourselves and each other. He put hoods over our heads and tied us up, forcing us to listen to what he was doing to our, I would say, sisters, redacteds. He chained us to the wall, locked us in boxes, and strapped us onto torture tables. He did experiments on us, whipped and beat us. He forced us to put on human skin masks, animal skins, clothes made out of skin and body parts, and perform sex acts and other things to him and each other. He had some animal skins and made us put on and act like that animal. He would beat us with the whips and chains. He urinated on us and had us do that to each other. We snatched small bits of sleep when we were too exhausted to continue. He would go and work on part of a project or out of the room and then come back for us. We knew we couldn't leave. At some point, Rosie brought him a tray of food. When Gordon finally let us out, it was late afternoon the next day. We were exhausted and filthy. We were covered in blood, semen, urine, poo, vomit, sweat, and other chemicals he had put on us. Rosie was revolted by us and told us so. She put towels down on the car seats so that wouldn't make her car dirty. Then she had us wait there. Then she had us wait in there while she went and spoke to Gordon for a few minutes by his front door. All the way home, she tried to interrogate us, to try to force us to tell her what happened. I, for one, could not have spoken to her for anything. I was sick, exhausted, brokenhearted, and betrayed. When we got home that evening, we all showered and went to bed. That's just a small drop in the bucket, and there's a lot of these pages. And I mean, I know a lot of this is like, wait, we're here for Tim Ballard, but I'm telling you, they're one and of the same, in my opinion. This is David Bowen. I'm sorry, this is David Hamblin, and this is from Core TV, Utah County, Utah. The Utah County Sheriff's Office has arrested a suspect in an ongoing ritualistic child sex abuse investigation. Former therapist David Hamblin, 66, who was previously charged with 18 counts of sexual assault, was taken into custody Wednesday morning. He was actually brought there by Gordon Bowen. Okay, right here it says, according to records obtained by Fox 13 News, Hamblin had previously confessed to sexually assaulting at least one of his female family members in an undercover phone recording. While the Utah County Attorney's Office dropped all charges, Hamblin lost his license and was excommunicated from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. More than 130 potential victims came forward. That's just who came forward, with officials describing the majority of those tips as, quote, credible. The following day, Utah County Attorney David Leavitt, held a press conference announcing himself as the subject of the investigation and describing his link to Hamblin. In August, a judge listened to testimony from Hamblin and his attorney asking for his record to be expunged. The Utah County Attorney's Office and Utah Attorney General's Office, Sean Reyes, opposed the expungement due to the active investigation. So I'm shocked. At that hearing, another prosecutor with the Utah County Attorney's Office contradicted Leavitt, arguing the case was not, quote, politically motivated, because David Leavitt, just like Tim Ballard, was piping off saying, "Oh, it's a hit piece," you're just because I'm running for I forget what it was. I don't remember. It'll say the Utah County Sheriff's Office is expected to hold a press conference on Wednesday afternoon. Booking documents for Hamblin have not yet been released. This is a developing story. This is September 28, 2022 by KSTU in Salt Lake City. But anyways, so this is something I made. Controversy surrounding the church. Tim Ballard, Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, Corey Richens. I don't know how they're connected, so I just put them on there. Shannon Gardner, Adam Steed, Jesse Hildebrandt, David McConkey, David Levitt, David Hamblin. Lots of bad stories about Mormons coming out of the church, making the church look less than Christ-like. I'm going to show you something else real quick, and then we'll get back to the documents. Like this person right here, Conrad Arthur. This is from Goel. Conrad Arthur Gottfredson, Alpine, Utah West Stake President, 2003 to 2013, President of Conduit Technology. Notice how they all have these weird connections with the X, and Eternal Core. They're all one word. Previously a bishop in Alpine, Utah. Referred both Angela Fenton, that's this person right here. Okay. Angela Fenton and returning missionary Brett Bluth to David Lee Hamblin. So this is a Mormon bishop, he was a Mormon stake president and previously a bishop in Alpine, okay? And he referred as a Mormon bishop Angela Fenton and Brett Bluth to, at that time, Mormon therapist David Lee Hamblin. So, sounds a lot like Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke and the Mormon Church referring members to these accused people who are Mormon therapists. And I can't make this shit up. I'm just saying. Referred both Angela Fenton and returning missionary Brett Bluth to David Lee Hamblin. Bluth's report to Daybell was the trigger for the investigation that led to Hamblin losing his license as a therapist. Sounds like Adam Steed and Jody Hildebrandt's case, right? Kind of. Allegedly participated in the abuse of the Hamblin daughters. Allegedly filmed the abuse of the Hamblin daughters. Okay. Okay, let me go. And this is another one. John Allen Bunting, former stake president, Provo, Edgemont Stake, managing director at Facet Precision Tool, GmbH, former CEO of Precorp Inc., alleged member of the High Council for the Church of Satan in Provo, allegedly orally sodomized Katie Hamblin in 1999 at the CS Church of Satan, LDS Church of Satan, High Council excommunication of David Lee Hamblin. Okay. And this one is interesting because it brings it all back. Okay. Gary and Joy Lundberg, alleged LDS Church of Satan members. They look like an innocent couple of grandparents, right? Alleged sexual abusers of the Hamblin children. The Lundbergs are the co-authors of various books on marriage, and Joy is a lyricist with over 170 songs to her credit with composer Janice Cap Perry. Now, watch this. Okay, this is something I found. Why did I say Nancy? Named accomplices, Gary and Joy Lundberg. Okay, they're alleged LDS Church of Satan members. Okay, let me see. I just copied what was on that. Goel, alleged. Okay, we have Gary Lundberg is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Katie Hamblin alleged that Gary and Joy were present at a Church of Satan sealing at Richard Lloyd Anderson and Karma Anderson's Provo condo, and that she and her sisters were forced to perform oral sex on both Gary and Joy. But what the interesting part is, I found it on East Idaho News. East Idaho News posted marriage advice for a blended family back in 2015. There's so many other topics that Gary and Joy covered, and it was promoted by East Idaho News. I'm not saying that they knew anything about it. I'm just saying there's a connection here. And here's the article. You can Google it. 5 suggestions for marriage with a blended family. And this was July 16, 2015. Okay. And here's the link right here. HTTPS right here at the bottom. I'm circling it. Okay. And then I'm going to show you another thing because it freaks me out. This is Robert L. Hamblin. He was a sociologist. Let's see. We'll proceed. Okay, I don't know what that says. Albert F. Wesson as chairman of the Department of Sociology or Anthropology at Washington University has been granted. Okay, I can't read it all, but he's part of Tavistock. Him and June, his wife, which is David Hamblin's parents. Robert Hamblin and June Hamblin are both David Hamblin's parents. Okay. They also lived in Tucson, which I'm trying to connect the dots to see if Jody Hildebrandt and her family, I know they lived in Tucson, but were they in Tucson near each other at the same time? Because basically, Hamblin's proposals involved behavior modification in subjects. That to me is proof in the pudding because we see what kind of behavior modifications are happening. Okay. It's not good behavior modification. And it was also Robert Hamblin. Let's see. Okay. Okay. He was granted money from the government, basically. Okay. So I've learned all this and got all these articles from Goel, who is looking into, he's investigating the ritual abuse alleged by David Lee Hamblin. Not by them, alleged by the Hamblin daughters. And it includes a lot of people. There's like 144 named people in their allegations, I guess you could say. Okay. So this has also been covered by Lynn Packer. It's called Satanic Panic it's number 23 of his video op-ed series. 2 suspects' names have been disclosed, one of them arrested. Now 2, but then David Hamblin was granted bond and he paid for it cash. It was a lot of money and he had the cash on hand. This is Kissy Watkins. She was an energy healer. 1950, 2021, she died. Attended BYU and U of U, University of Utah. Returned Mormon missionary, worked with David Hamblin, engaged in quackery, Christ-centered healing, and cranial osteopathy and foot zoning. This is from Lynn Packer's report as well. Barbara's son's affidavit. So this is from Barbara. This is another place where Thom Harrison is involved in this case. Okay. So, David Hamblin arrived to stay in Gordon's apartment, who had been Gordon's therapist years ago. So David Hamblin provided therapy for Gordon Bowen. The church, I read y'all a little bit of one of the victim statements, the punisher for this group, the LDS Church of Satan. Okay. Gordon Bowen. Okay. Quote, having had his license revoked and his specialty now was casting out evil spirits. You can't make this shit up. Okay. Unquote. I'm sorry. I didn't say unquote before I said all that, but quote, they sat us down and essentially told us that our mom was off her rocker. This was Gordon Bowen's wife. He married her like in his 30s. Okay. Which was blessed. It was like, and Russell Ballard was like, yes, they wanted Gordon Bowen to be married because there's allegations that he's a homosexual man. Kind of like, I think Jody Hildebrandt is probably a closeted homosexual woman. And we kind of see how that played out. So I don't really want to get into all that, but they sat us down and essentially told us that our mom was off her rocker. That's Barbara Timothy. That if she did leave Gordon, she would be making a serious mistake and that God would be very angry with her. Sounds like Chad Daybell, huh? With Grandpa Keith. David Hamblin's divorce trial, 2003, accused of experimenting with children using peyote and hypnotism. This is them younger. Okay, that's Roselle. This is David. 2 daughters testified he sexually abused them. This was, hold on. It's very clear from the police reports that it was Hamblin's daughters who originally reported the abuse after going public about it in 2012 when Hamblin was first arrested and let go for the lack of evidence. More victims came forth with their reports, and the investigation continued until September 2022 when David Hamblin was finally arrested again. The accusations in the reports were not just from David. It included David's wife, Rosie, or Roselle, who was just arrested for the charges in August of 2023. It also included the maternal grandparents and paternal grandparents of the kids. That's Robert Hamblin, okay, and June Hamblin, which they're both deceased now, but Karma Anderson and Lloyd Anderson. So both sets of grandparents were named in the reports as abusers, but it doesn't stop there. David's sisters, their husbands, Hamblin's brother, and his wife were also included. Okay. I'm just saying, it's just a lot of crazy crap. 2 suspects' names have been disclosed. I already said all that. Okay, let me get back to, this is that. Okay. Let me get back to Tim Ballard. Are y'all okay? I know, I'm just laying it out there. I know, it sucks. It's horrible to hear. But can you imagine having to live through that if it's true? Just saying. I don't know why so many people would lie. You know what I'm saying? There's 130 people that come forward. Just saying. Let me make sure. Okay. I have that on the right page. Okay. All right. So in 2012, 2 filmmakers heard a radio interview between Glenn Beck and Timothy Blaine Ballard, whereby Ballard was peddling one of his alternative history books. One of them is called The Covenant, The American Covenant. And basically, in my opinion, it resembles a lot of the NWO. That kind of thinking, it's just bizarre. And it's weird how their history doesn't align with the rest of America. Okay. David Barton is the same way. Just kind of this distorted, I said it, distorted history. Okay. And this reminds me actually of Tim Ballard and Hannah Stoddard, who both spoke regularly on preparing a people events, conferences. So the Firm Foundation, Firm Expo, which is owned by Rod Meldrum. Okay. And it's disgusting. But Hannah Stoddard and Tim Ballard actually, let me look it up. It's gonna piss me off. On the History Channel. And they're talking about inverted pentagrams not being inverted. They're like, no, they're not. They're not bad at all. Let me do this real quick.
A lot of the things that Masons do are things that are very familiar to Latter-day Saints who participate in temple worship.
Correct.
And the question we have to ask is, why did this group, first of all, why did they possess them? And that's a mystery. There's a lot of theory behind it. A lot of people believe that these symbols and signs of Masonry were preserved through the days of the ancient Israelites and Solomon's temple, and that Jesus Christ himself taught these principles in mortality, and that they were things that were given to the apostles.
Sorry.
And that somehow this group of what we call the Masons, perhaps through a Templar connection, perhaps through another way, through the apostasy, they preserved these.
I mean, can we just go over the fact that Tim Ballard himself has been knighted? I'm trying to get back over there. He's been knighted. Let me show you this real quick. Right here. This is something that give credit to Chino Blanco from subreddit that I subscribe to, and this is just the many connections. Well, down or right above where it says credit Reddit Chino Blanco, look just north of that, above that, and it says Knights Templar. And I mean, it's hard to see on here though. But Sean Reyes, Verostegui, I don't know how to say his name. I usually butcher it, but I forget his first name, but anyways, I mean, he was portrayed in the Sound of Freedom movie, and Tim Ballard, Sean Reyes, Paul Hutchinson, and Verosigi or whatever, they were all Knighted Templars back in 2015. And this connection here, Lori and Chad are up here to the right. Okay, and it connects to Jody Hildebrandt via Thom Harrison, Ken Krogh, Tim Ballard, Ruby Frankie, and it says Tim Ballard, and of course, all being influenced by Thom Harrison's now infamous book, Visions of Glory. Okay, so I mean, it's deep. It's so deep, and it's too much to just dismiss, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, you can't have all these connections, this was Visions of Glory. This was also part of FOIA docs in the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case. This is from Arizona. This is Visions of Glory. This is, it goes full circle because this is Visions of Glory on Lori's nightstand in the house where my Uncle Charles was murdered in Arizona. Okay. So this came from the crime scene photos. And I mean, Lori's house, you know how empty it was. And this is the only furniture that's in the house. It's her bedroom. And here it is on the nightstand. And then full circle, you come around and here, just different shots of Visions of Glory right there under her leg with her and Chin's, acting dumb. So I don't know if it factors into the light dark scenario, but it's just odd that Thom Harrison is this much involved, and I want to know why. Here's a interaction between Zelema Pastinez, and which is Lori's sister-in-law, and I guess Chad's sister-in-law too, if you think about it, because Alex Cox married Zelema, and Alex Cox was Lori's brother, and he was so they're brother-in-laws, and then Zelema, anyways. But to Lori Vallow, Zelema says, reading Visions of Glory is better than church. So take it for what it's worth. But just know that it plays a very big part in these cases. It's too much to overlook, in my opinion. I won't anymore. All right, let me finish this.
Signs and symbols.
When we speak of masonry, often the masonry of today is confused with the masonry of the late 18th and early 19th centuries. On the one hand, we have a contemporary fraternal organization.
The thing that gets me the most is that we're wrong, is basically what they're saying. You just have it wrong. Here we are speaking so authoritative on the issue. We're on the damn History Channel, for Christ's sake. And we just have it wrong, America. I mean, we just have it all confused and jacked up.
When we speak of masonry, often the masonry of today is confused with the masonry of the late 18th and early 19th centuries. On the one hand, we have a contemporary fraternal organization. And on the other, we have ancient symbols and rites that were handed down through time to the founding fathers.
Further investigation reveals another occult symbol traced directly into the streets of Washington, D.C., a pentagram. And its southernmost tip points directly to the White House.
Latter-day Saints are accused of being Satan worshipers because some of our early buildings, the Logan Temple, the Salt Lake Temple, the Nauvoo Temple, all three of them have inverted 5-part stars on them. There are 40 on the Salt Lake Temple. Every window on the Nauvoo Temple is an inverted pentagram in a circle surrounded by 3 stones at each of the 4 cardinal directions. 12 stones. Here we have an inverted pentagram surrounding the Nauvoo Temple, the temple designed by Joseph Smith, the prophet of the Restoration. Why would he put a pentagram on one of the most important early temples? The pentagram is perhaps the oldest graphic symbol on the planet, discovered in ancient Babylon. For centuries, for millennia, it was tied to light, to creation, to healing. Some of the old
my Lord.
healing professions and doctors used the pentagram as a symbol of healing because it has those connections of light,
Oh, Lord.
divine
Oh my God.
geometry.
That just made me think when he just said that of healing. That's what allegedly what Ian came out in his documents about Chad and Lori's alleged beliefs, saying that they were one of the, I guess you would say, departments. I don't know. Their group or whatever was in charge of healing and music. So I'm going to back that up right there and let him say that again because that was interesting.
Healing professions and doctors use healing was tied to light for centuries, for millennia. It was tied to light, to creation, to healing. Some of the old healing professions and doctors used the pentagram as a symbol of healing because it has those connections of light, divine geometry, healing and perfection. Of course it would be tied to Jesus Christ, and it is. He cast out evil and darkness. He cast out evil spirits.
I mean, the background music is so fitting.
It started in 1855 with a French Catholic deacon who was also a Mason.
Oh,
he was kicked.
Do y'all remember whenever they, according to Chad's rating system, and he rated my Uncle Charles as being from 1500 London or something like that? It was weird. But remember, he was also rated light, and then he turned dark, Just weird.
Kicked out of the Catholic Church. He was kicked out of Masonry. His name was
Dang.
Alphonse Louis Constant. He was into magic and into some unusual things. He took the upright five-pointed star, a symbol of light, and he inverted it and put it on his first book of magic, making it a symbol of the occult and darkness.
Alphonse Constant changed his name to be Hebrew, and he became,
I think, this is Hannah Stoddard, okay? She is the daughter of James Stoddard. And Hidden True Crime, Lauren has talked about this, and I think they actually, True Crime Underground had uploaded a video of how this one right here talks to her mother. It's pretty disgusting.
known as Eliphaz Levi. This researcher of what he called the ancient doctrines used the pentagram in conjunction with the tetragrammaton to create a symbol blaspheming the sacred name of God. The tetragrammaton is Greek. It means 4 letters. The tetragrammaton has reference to the 4 letters in Hebrew which create the Lord's name. The Lord's name is pronounced by most biblical scholars and Hebrew linguists as Yahweh.
According to Jewish practice, the name of God is treated with such reverence that verbally pronouncing the name is avoided. Writing the name unnecessarily is also avoided, even resulting in...
Look, Mark of the Mound Builders. You know who else is in the mound building? And all that. The Heartland Theory is Rod Meldrum. Interesting.
abbreviations for the name.
The god of the occult is most commonly represented in satanic illustrations by the tetragrammaton. Occultists consider the Hebrew names of God like Adonai and Elohim to hold power, and none of these is more powerful to them than the tetragrammaton. Clearly, the use of the tetragrammaton and other names of God by Satanists does not make the names of God evil any more than their adoption of the pentagram makes the pentagram evil.
Okay.
In my era, when there was DVDs and videos that we'd rent, I'd go to the movie store and we'd see scary movies, often had an inverted pentagram on it. And so I did a little survey and I found about 10% of all the scary movies, especially those dealing with the occult, had an inverted pentagram in a circle on it. That's exactly the symbol that was on the Nauvoo temple. No wonder.
Shocker. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to normalize it. We're going to make it seem like they're just bad and we're not.
People associated Latter-day Saints with the occult.
Which, I mean, okay, it's a religion that's only like, it's less than 200 years old. So, anyways. too many things, in my opinion. Not to mention the underground tunnels. I mean, there's one that I remember hearing Tim Ballard talking about one that was under and they could access through Operation Underground Railroad. I'll have to find it so you don't think I'm just making it up. It's crazy.
What they don't understand is the history of that symbol.
Okay, so you can look this up. Let me grab the link so I can share it in the chat. Let me get off of here too and go back to here. All right, let me put this in the chat. Okay. Isn't this crazy? Okay, I'll put that in the chat. All right, back to here. All right, 35. The filmmakers were looking for an American history consultant for a project they were working on called Beck's Show to be put in contact with Ballard. Okay. 36. Ballard agreed to meet with the filmmakers. I wonder if this is the Angel Studios, the Harmon brothers. I wonder. 37. Ballard immediately began to tell the filmmakers stories about his work with the CIA and Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, as a, quote, undercover agent. 38. Filmmakers were impressed by Ballard's compelling tales and told him they would be interested in making a documentary about his important undercover work. It's this network, man. Ballard agreed, but insisted that he become a full partner in the production of the film. I want to say this is The Abolitionist. Okay. It would, quote, it would kill me to see you guys, the two filmmakers, up there accepting awards and me not get one, unquote. Okay. 40. With an outline for a film and TV series, quote, Operation Underground Railroad, unquote, was born. Allegedly, I remember reading that this was M. Russell Ballard's idea. Okay. Actually, this is my opinion. I think that this is just the latest idea since, M. Russell Ballard was all into basically promoting the church. That was like his job. So in order to get new converts, which kind of incorporates into the whiteboard prophecy. I'm sorry, the whiteboard meeting that M. Russell Ballard was said to have attended, and have backed financially, him and two other apostles. And then the way the whiteboard meeting, I think Donna pulled that up actually. Let me see. Yes, you did. Let's see right here. This is Ballard's whiteboard drawing. Thank you, Donna. Slave Stealers is up there at the top. It's a for-profit. Okay, so we'll start over here to the left. In the yellow, Child Liberation Foundation CEO is Brad Damon. Executive Hada Vanessa. Advisor Kahia. Okay, Kahia appeared on The Last Dispensation as well with Janet Russin, the so-called psychic, who, Janet Russin was basically Tim Ballard's, he used her instead of like investigative skills that he allegedly has, right? Or lack thereof, I'd say. And she was like, what's the word I'm looking for? She was basically, she would tell him where Gardy Marty was, or trying to locate sex trafficking victims. And it's all a ruse, in my opinion. But anyways, Child Liberation Foundation is Paul Hutchinson's, by the way. Okay, so then that would funnel into OUR, which is the Sizzle, the Nazarene Fund, Sizzle, Children Need Families, Sizzle, Liberty and Light, Equity Trust, Mercury One, also Glenn Beck. That's Glenn Beck's Mercury One. Orphanage in Haiti, that freaks me out. And then it all funnels into timballard.com, which is the Sound of Freedom movie, $2.5 million bank account, $50,000 to $100,000 for each speaking engagement. I wonder if Rod Meldrum paid him that, or, I don't think so. So tell that to somebody else. 3 to 5 new books coming out. And then all this was going to funnel into Russell Ballard, silent partner, Tim Ballard and Brian Norton, and all for-profit Slave Stealers LLC. Okay. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, let me get back over here. It don't look like y'all can see it very large. Let me try that. Okay. Number 40, with an outline for a film and TV series, quote, Operation Underground Railroad was born. The filmmakers began filming everything that Ballard did, believing that Ballard was an expert because of his CIA and HSI experience as an undercover agent helping rescue trafficked children, allegedly. And I mean, the filmmaker, saying that they were led to believe, but I mean, do they, or are they all just working in concert? Because they all make a lot of money off of all this propaganda, is basically what it is, in my opinion. Okay. 42, the idea for a series and documentary, The Abolitionist, was hatched, and Ballard planned operations, or ops, in order to collect video footage that could be edited into a money-making documentary and series. 43, Ballard founded the nonprofit organization Operation Underground Railroad, OUR, in 2013 that claims to, quote, lead the fight against human trafficking and sexual exploitation worldwide, unquote. It reminds me of Step Brothers. 44. In line with this desire to be in line with this desire to be the hero in movies and become rich and famous, on July 28, 2014, Ballard began setting up ops. 45. Ballard joined the nonprofit corporation Liberty and Light, which is doing business as the Spear Fund, as a landing spot for him after being fired by OUR. This is where Ken Krogh comes in, okay? Ken Krogh was introduced to Thom Harrison via Rod Meldrum. He is all up on he's the owner and founder of the Firm Expo, the Firm Foundation, pretty sketch dude there, in my opinion. I don't like Rod. I'm just going to be point blank with you. I don't care for the dude. And I've tried. The other, okay, wait. As a landing spot for him after being fired by OUR. It operates as the alter ego of Tim Ballard. Oh, yeah. I forget that name. It's something black. But anyways. Okay, the other corporate defendants were created by Ballard in order to funnel the donations coming into OUR into corporate profits and shareholder distributions. 47. At all relevant points in time, Ballard was the CEO and or manager/member of the above consortium of companies, and Ballard was the alter ego and face of these companies. Okay? I mean, he's your blonde hair, blue-eyed golden boy, okay? And I mean, he was also in their like swimwear with him, Russell Ballard. Whether they're related or not, they were definitely associated. At all relevant points in time, defendants Anderson, J.A. Blake, Mortensen, Pack, Reynolds, Fairbanks, M. Blake, and Damon are and were members of OUR's board, collectively, quote, the board, and owed fiduciary duties to plaintiffs and donors. Okay. 49. At all relevant points in time, defendants Matt Osborne, and Matt Cooper, are and were principals and or employees of OUR and TNF and had actual knowledge of Ballard's and or OUR's misconduct and misrepresentations, and both participated in aiding and abetting the sex trafficking and sexual assaults set forth below. Not making light of that sentence, just it was a long one. 50. OUR raised money in order to have conducted multiple sting operations to purportedly rescue trafficked women and children. Ops, also called ops, with ops being conducted outside the United States. Okay. 51. Many of these ops included wealthy men with no military training, just a bunch of Rambo dudes, right? Cosplay, who wanted and, quote, experience vacation, unquote, where they dropped into third world countries to rescue trafficked children, allegedly. Can you imagine the number of victims laying in the wake of all these idiots, in my opinion, with photo opportunities and stories in the local newspapers of their heroics, all the while flying first class? Oh, that makes me think of that video. Let me show you again. I think it's True Crime with Stacy. I've shared it here before. I'm not gonna be able to remember it. Let's see. A YouTube channel. Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. My bad. Let me grab that link real quick. Copy, and I'll show you again because I think it's just shows the depravity that just. I mean, you can't make this shit up, really, because here's Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and all their circle jerks, as Larry likes to call them. And I mean, and then they're connected to Tim Ballard's, Chad Daybell and Tim Ballard spoke at the same damn conferences. And I mean, allegedly, hearsay says that Melanie Pulaski donated $6,000 to Operation Underground Railroad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you cannot, hold on. She's got a lot of damn videos. I'm looking for, let's see. I didn't think about, I mean, I didn't read this yet. So, oh my gosh. Let's see. That's a year ago. This was not long ago. I don't think, sorry. Might be flipping y'all out. But I would check her channel. I'm going to share the link here in just a second as soon as I get back over there. It's around here, around this time. There we go.
Embarrassing.
Okay, I got to back it up a little bit. It's back in the same spot where I shared it with y'all last time. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me back it up here.
Arnie.
Okay. Oops.
It's very different. I will talk about that when I do one of the episodes you have all asked for, where I talk about my own experience leaving the Mormon church. I got a tidal wave of yes, you want to hear that story. I'm working on it. Well, Tim Ballard started to get his name in the press and his status began to grow. Not only was his name getting around, it was extra special because Tim Ballard wasn't getting famous for singing or acting. He was getting famous for doing good. He was getting famous for being a do-gooder. And there is nothing Mormons love more than being adjacent to goodness. It is crack for them. Tim started, this is so corny. Tim started making public appearances. Apparently he made one in St. George when I was living in Vegas, but he would enter the town he was appearing at to give a speech or whatever it was in a helicopter that he would have landed like in the town square.
We have to stop because do I have a treat for you? After I recorded this episode, a friend of mine contacted me that knew I was doing the episode and said, Stacy, I have photographs from this day, lots and lots of photographs. So you are in for such a treat. No one has seen these photos in years, if ever at all. Enjoy. This is what really bothers me about this situation. Look at all these people coming to this event. Do you think for 1 second that any of these people thought this man was a liar and a con man? These folks were there because they thought he was doing something good and they wanted to show their support to someone who was working hard to save children.
How gross that
These
is.
are good people. These are decent people that thought they were supporting a good cause and they got took. And it makes me really angry.
That is so disgusting.
Oh my goodness, you guys. I'm sorry. I just think this is the dorkiest. This is one of the most uncool things I think I've ever seen in my life. I have never seen anyone so desperate to be worshipped and treated like a hero. This is the corniest freaking thing I have ever seen. I feel bad for the people that went, and I'm sure some of them still support him and are mad at the things that I'm saying, and I couldn't care less. This is my opinion. I think this is so dorky and so telling of how badly he wanted to be treated like a hero. And can we get him a t-shirt?
Is that the Nephite Explorer right there? I don't, he looks so familiar. I'm not sure. Maybe not.
Fits. This is
Look at
really,
them
really
sweaty pits.
embarrassing to me. I just don't know what else to say. And then, of course, you know, we've got the hero worship imagery, these signs, these photos. And then, of course, him hugging Sean Reyes, our state attorney general, who he later destroys.
I think they're one and of the same, in my opinion, you know, but okay, so back to this. Isn't that disgusting, though? So Donna had messaged me backstage, and she said that on page 10 is where it starts to talk about the relationship with the church. So we skipped ahead to 10. Mormon Apostle M. Russell Ballard and the Mormon Connection. Number 69. Since college, defendant Ballard has claimed that he is closely related to deceased Apostle M. Russell Ballard, President Ballard, of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormon or Mormon Church, claiming to some that Elder Ballard is his grandfather. That's changed a little bit since the initial statements, because I've heard like a grandfather, but not is his grandfather. But I'm sure that's true. I just don't know how to prove it yet. To others that Elder Ballard is his uncle. So he said that Elder Ballard is his grandfather, Elder Ballard is his uncle, though neither statement is true, and there is no close familial tie at all. Interesting, right? I guess, and so number 1, it says, because the full name of the church includes the name of deity, plaintiff's counsel will refer to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as it is more commonly known, the, quote, Mormon Church, in order to limit the use of the sacred name of Jesus Christ. No disrespect is intended. Okay, number 70. President Ballard, through his leadership role in the Mormon Church, became good friends with several wealthy members of the church, including Russell Brunson, founder of ClickFunnels, and Ken Krogh, the co-founder of InsideSales.com and founder of the Spear Fund, which is basically what Tim Ballard morphed into whenever he was forced out of OUR. Okay. Ken Krogh, a disciple of Tom Harrison, who claims to have gotten his authority from Elder Neil A. Maxwell, now deceased, of the Mormon Church, started having visions of Tim Ballard, and the two developed a very close relationship. 72. President Ballard, a direct descendant of the founders of the Mormon Church, experienced repeated business failures in his life, but was financially rescued by the Mormon Church and placed into leadership positions that ended with him being the third most senior leader of the Mormon Church. Oh gosh. So I was not feeling well yesterday, right? But I turned on Len K. Packer's channel to the video he did most recently, I guess you could say. Let me go ahead and pull that up so I can share it with y'all, because it ties into Scientology with the damn e-meter. Okay. I was like, oh my God. And I was hurting so bad. I couldn't even tell Jason. And I was just like, oh my God, you see this, let me get to that real quick. And let's see, share this one instead. It's this one. And let me try and get to the spot. It's around here somewhere.
Enterprises. Putting financial affairs in order must have included putting together a new venture. In 1974, the year he would be called as a mission president, Russell Ballard formed a new company, Emergency Products, Inc., along with George Conde and his father. It was related to his Dynapack, Inc. company. Dynapack, Inc., among other products, made portable wood and coal-burning stoves, which sold well during the 1974
I'm sure that would go good with the tent cities,
energy crisis. Besides franchises, the stoves themselves were sold at Ballard's business office and at the Ballard Wade used car lot. Still, Dynapack stock sold for only a few cents a share.
I just put that in that.
Dynapack acquired the financially troubled Hydra-Swift Boat Company. Hydra-Swift did not turn Dynapack into a successful venture. Amid his new ventures, Ballard was called as the LDS Church's Ontario, Canada mission president.
Oh, it just reminded me, as soon as I saw Barbara's face here, this was Barbara Bowen. Barbara Bowen Ballard. She died in, I want to say October 2018, or the latter part of 2018. So I just think it's interesting. Her name is, Barbara Bowen, and then you have Gordon Bowen. I mean, are they related? I
Went
don't
onto
know.
the church's
Weird.
payroll and never left church employment, but he continued connections to businesses and penny stock ventures. Dynapack, the grandchild of Valley Music Hall Inc., soldiered on as a penny stock company trading over the counter. A business paper called it a jack of all trades, master of none.
I mean, my stepdad, Dennis, he's used to say that all the time, It's kind of like Sean Little Bear. Actually, Nancy James had written, it's like some screenshots of text messages that she had sent to somebody who was pushing back and saying basically that, Sean Little Bear was a charlatan. Well, she's like, she said something to the tune of Sean Little Bear is the chief of all chiefs. I was like, oh my Lord. It's just like, are you gullible or what?
It struggled financially for years, stock selling at less than 30 cents a share. In 1977, its main lender, Utah Valley Bank, demanded payment for a $350,000 note, forcing Dynapack into liquidation. Dynapack, reduced to almost a shell, looked for a private company that wanted to do a reverse merger.
Here it is. Okay.
So what happened to the Dynapack shell? In July 1984, Dynapack, after being dormant for several years, was reactivated by a merger with Sedona Corp of California. It's doubtful Russell Ballard had any direct involvement with the merger, but he may have owned some shares. Dynapack acquired the Golden Gulch gold mine in New Mexico. A geologist falsified an assay claiming the mine could produce $7.8 million in gold a month. Promoters executed a pump and dump scheme. Dynapack stock skyrocketed from 5 cents a share to $8 a share. Dynapack's owner was convicted of securities fraud, and a Salt Lake transfer agent was charged with aiding and abetting.
Let's get to
Advisor
here.
to United States President, wealth can be a terrible snare in life
Trying to get to it.
or a way to bless others. Steve is not a rich man, but I think his great wealth is his time given to his community. Some of Stoddard's penny stock ventures, Phonics Corp. Phonics lost more than $100 million while its founders became wealthy. Canyon Gold, Defense Technology, and KLS Enviro Resources. Stutter was CEO of KLS Enviro. Ballard Investment Company acquired as many as 1.6 million shares in Stutter's company.
Wow.
Zion's Bank $710,000 loan may have been involved with the investment. SEC filings indicate Russell Ballard's son Craig and son-in-law Brad Brower participated.
Okay, we can say Brad Brower is on Liberty 89 with Ballard, President Ballard's son, Craig. Okay. And I mean, they're all in cahoots with each other.
In the investment. Another Ballard penny stock investment after becoming
This is where it connects to the e-meter, I do believe.
a general authority. The Biomeridian electrodiagnostic device tests galvanic skin resistance to an applied electrical current. It purportedly detects energy imbalances. They're often used to recommend vitamins, nutritional supplements to treat supposed ailments. The website Quackwatch calls it a scam. Scientologists use a similar device called an e-meter that operates used to supposedly detect whether a person has been relieved of spiritual impediments of past experiences. Ballard related.
So, I mean, that's just another interesting tie, in my opinion. All right. President Ballard is direct descendant of the founders of the Mormon Church, experienced repeated business failures in his life, but was financially rescued by the Mormon Church and placed into leadership positions that ended with him being the third most senior leader of the Mormon Church. 73. Witnesses report that President Ballard was enamored by Tim Ballard's faux history books regarding the, quote, American Covenant. In my opinion, this is basically, it would be like if you're an LDS member, then if you look up the law of consecration and you look up the United Order, the kind of this New World Order type plan, this elaborate agenda or whatever the hell they're talking about. I do believe this is what they are referring to when we hear they're ushering in the second coming of Jesus Christ. And it kind of makes me think of why the church, has made statements in the past about why they're acquiring all this wealth and they're saving it for the second coming of Jesus Christ. And I'm like, okay, you know, I mean, I don't think that's not how I see it, but you know, hey, anyways. And if you go look at Ryan Fisher's interview, I had covered it right when it came out. Nuance Ho is actually going to share some interviews she's done with him, but I mean, it basically, he states everything that I just said about how they have this elaborate agenda to take over the world. Okay, so I'm just saying. President Ballard and his authority in position to recruit wealthy Mormon members such as Brunson and Krogh to provide business coaching and mentorship to Tim Ballard, as well as asking them to donate to Tim's organizations, including OUR and the Spear Fund. President Ballard also encouraged Tim Ballard's books being sold in Deseret Book. Remember when they wiped them off? And encouraged his speaking engagements at BYU TV. I never heard that. I've never heard of BYU TV, but that's interesting. Where Ballard and his close associates could sell their views of the American covenant. Ken Krogh saw a vision of Tony Robbins and other wealthy persons coming to the apparent informality. I didn't know Ken Krogh was a visionary. Just saying. Tim Ballard to help in this cause. What? That's kind of out of place there. Huh. Okay, 77. Ken Krogh shared these visions with President Ballard, who was meeting regularly with Tim Ballard to help him develop his, quote, business goals, unquote. 78. Upon information and belief, President Ballard and or Ken Krogh used psychic Janet Russin for readings to advise them of how they should proceed in all aspects of their lives. And you can actually go to Glenn Beck's Blaze Media, where they covered a story, pretty deep story about Janet Russin. And there's like an 8-minute clip from SoundCloud. That's the platform that they used. And she's basically scrying or whatever, automatic writing, and she's just talking all this caca, I guess you could say, of these readings, you know, about what Tim is to do, how he is to do it, and it's very, very interesting. Okay. It says some witnesses have claimed that Janet Russin was President Ballard's personal psychic, and that President Ballard vouched for her psychic powers whenever people would question Ballard about using a psychic as his only source of locating trafficked children. 80. President Ballard, Tim Ballard, and others formed a private business, the Defendant Slave Stealers, LLC, or Slave Stealers, with its principal place of business being in President Ballard's son-in-law's offices. Again, I learned about this initially from the Lynn Packer's YouTube channel in his op-ed series, where the Ballards and other investors could monetize their purported work that OUR was performing using the missionary program of the Mormon Church as a template. That's disgusting. And the Mormon Church networks as fundraising assembly lines. Okay, it's just this huge network. I swear. This is so gross. 81. President Ballard leaned on his wealthy, tithing-paying friends and pressured his peers in the Quorum of the 12 and 70 for significant donations to slave stealers to use. On behalf of slave stealers, Ballard would go out and produce, quote, sizzle, okay, unquote, through his several videos of faux rescues and dangerous-looking situations, and then sell them to OUR, the Nazarene Fund, and now the Spear Fund, making it look like it was all being done on behalf of his nonprofit companies. Oh, there's the ruse, you know, when in fact it was to line his pockets and the pockets of President Ballard and the other owners of Slave Stealers LLC. President Ballard sanctioned the couple's ruse. President Ballard went on Ballard American history tours. This sounds like Rod Meldrum and his damn history tours of the Heartland theory or the Heartland model. Oh my gosh. In order to prop up Ballard's for-profit enterprises. It's so extra. Okay. 85. Upon information and belief, President Ballard and other leaders of the Mormon Church asked Tim Ballard to write a book declaring that the word of wisdom is not true. Let's read that again. Upon information and belief, President Ballard and other leaders of the Mormon Church asked Tim Ballard to write a book declaring that the word of wisdom is not true. Why? The word of wisdom is the Mormon Church's health code that forbids its members from drinking alcohol or coffee and things of the like, right? President Ballard has cited Tim Ballard to students at Brigham Young University, Idaho. Oh, that's right there in Rexburg. As an expert of Book of Mormon prophet Nephi and the Mormon view of American history. Ballard has spoken to many Mormon church groups across the country, including athletic teams at Brigham Young University. Ballard's enmeshment with the Mormon Church and its leaders further provided him credibility and status in Utah, where the Mormon Church is the largest and founding denomination of the state. Ballard believed that a special witness of Jesus Christ was giving him direct instruction from Christ himself, okay, and was receiving readings and visions from Krogh and Russin. I guess he is a damn visionary psychic dude, I guess, whatever. That he would be a prophet of the Mormon, that he would be a prophet of the church and president of the United States. Again, here's your cult leader, okay? Chad and Lori, they are just an offshoot of this offshoot, whatever, which emboldened him to conduct the couple's ruse. And again, that was sanctioned by President Ballard, which was not used to find children, but was a ruse to commit sexual assaults of his couple's ruse partners, which are these ladies that are filing the suit. In fact, after a drunken, Tim Ballard went to plaintiff Kira Lynch's home late at night and raped her on the stairs. He called President Ballard and confessed to what he had done. Okay, President Ballard did not tell Tim Ballard to go to the police. I'm sorry. Did I read that right? President Ballard did not tell him to go to the police and report his horrible act. Oh, I'm sure it's forgive and forget, right? Rather, President Ballard told Ballard to do better at obeying the couple's ruse rules. Despite the very public distancing of the Mormon Church from Tim Ballard on or around September 2023, remember, that's that thing I was telling you about, how it's alleged that Gordon Bowen is actually the one that issued the email to Vice News, and it was the official church email, okay? And Gordon Bowen, I read to you some of the victim statements, alleged abuse against David Hamblin and Gordon Bowen, David Levitt, Shalom Eastwood Levitt, and the like. Okay, the Mormon Church continues to promote OUR. Okay, for example, on October 15th, so this is after Tim Ballard was publicly and allegedly, excommunicated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. On October 15, 2023, OUR's president, defendant Osborne, gave a fireside on, quote, grooming tactics and, quote, extortion schemes and other matters in the New Braunfels Second Ward in Texas. I remember reading this. Okay. Ooh, I shouldn't have done that. And it says New Braunfels Second Ward, the First Ward extended an invitation to all adults and youth 14 plus. Can you imagine your kids going to this? Accompanied by a partner to attend a devotional tomorrow, October 15th at 7 p.m. Matt Osborne, OUR president. See, they're like, hey, I'm authoritative here, will address topics including internet safety, grooming tactics, extortion schemes, situational awareness, conversation openers. This to me is projection, because I believe that these people are doing what they're actually projecting to people that they are trying to prevent. Okay. It says, please see the attached flyer for additional information. And it says, you received this email because you made your email available to your local church leaders. It was sent by Nathan Hirachi Manning, whose calling is ward assistant. That's what Chad did. Ward assistant executive secretary. That Chad was serving a calling in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at the time of all the murders. I mean, it's just interesting because he's, anyways. Mormon media guru Glenn Beck. We won't go much longer. Tim Ballard became friends with Glenn Beck. Tim Ballard became friends with Glenn Beck, a convert to the Mormon Church, who is also an American conservative political commentator, radio host, entrepreneur, and television producer. He also went on OUR Ops. Glenn Beck donated significant amounts of money to begin OUR. 97. Tim Ballard became CEO of Glenn Beck's nonprofit TNF, the Nazarene Fund, to fight Christian causes across the globe, and Beck gave Ballard almost unlimited access to the Glenn Beck media network, which further contributed to Ballard's credibility. Okay. Since learning of Ballard's implementation of the couple's ruse, Glenn Beck called it, quote, really bad stuff, unquote, and feels duped by Ballard. And I call BS. Okay. I think they're just doing whatever they have to do because there's an email that was written by Glenn Beck to Tim. And I mean, he was just using these call words, these dog whistles, like they do. Glenn Beck, especially. Okay. I have a clip of him saying the Constitution is hanging by a thread. It's a dog whistle. Okay. And, him and Rod Meldrum even used the same, and so did what's his name? Eric Mutzos. All three of these used this very dog whistle. I think it's a dog whistle. And it was keep your powder dry. Okay. And I'm just like, what? It just don't fit. Y'all need to update y'all's damn code words, okay? Because that's what really gives y'all away. You're welcome. Okay. Tony Robbins. What a prick. Anyways. In a self-fulfilled prophecy, Tim Ballard became friends with Tony Robbins, an American author, coach, and speaker, which further solidified the views of President Ballard, Ken Krogh, and Janet Russin, that Tim Ballard had been chosen of God, right? They call me a god. God complex. Tony Robbins raised staggering amounts of money for Ballard, including several millions of dollars at his birthday party. I'm sure it's funneling back into their pockets. I mean, I can just only imagine. Sound of Freedom. Ballard and OUR continued generating millions in donations through documentaries, and in 2023, a feature film distributed by Mormon-based Angel Studios, that's the Harmon brothers, called Sound of Freedom was released. Y'all, that was, last year. 102. The film claimed to portray the work Tim Ballard has done, and the movie has been hugely successful across the globe, adding to the myth of Tim Ballard. And it also is propaganda because it's not at all correct as far as what human trafficking even looks like. Okay. So, I mean, people will cut you if you talk bad about this movie. Okay. I've never seen it. I don't care to see it. I know enough to know that it's bullshit. So I ain't doing it. The film claimed to portray the work Tim Ballard has done, and the movie has been hugely successful across the globe, adding to the myth of Tim Ballard. 103. The film was scheduled to be released on March 30th, 2023 by Angel Studios. However, Angel Studios would not agree to distribute it until Davis County criminal investigation was concluded. Okay, upon information and belief on or around March 26, 2023, there was a meeting between General Reyes, Sean Reyes, Chris, and Troy Rawlings. Okay. Despite General Reyes being, quote, walled off, unquote, from the investigation of OUR and Ballard, which, I mean, you had to. Okay. Anyways, on March 28, 2023, 2 days after that meeting, Troy Rawlings announced that he was closing the investigation. General Reyes has proclaimed in his news conferences that he had no involvement with the investigation being stopped. The Ballards and OUR's rise in status and wealth. 107. Slave Stealers and Liberty 89 commissioned a painting of Ballard and his wife, defendant Catherine. Defendant, okay? She's everybody who's like, oh, poor Catherine. No, it's all, they know what they're doing. Okay. There's no poor Catherine, in my opinion. Again, enhancing the credibility of Ballard to an almost Mother Teresa altitude. This looks like, this is Tim Ballard right here. This is Catherine. There's like George Washington. There's Tony Robbins. Where's the snake? There's somebody standing on a snake somewhere. But it's gross, and it's so disrespectful to the actual the whole, not the Underground Railroad. I mean, this is like, how there's blasphemy of Jesus? Well, to me, it's like a slap in the damn face to African American people who, and the civil rights and everything. Anyways, 108, OUR reported to the IRS $6.9 million in revenue in 2016, $22.3 million in 2019, $45 million in 2020, and $52.930 million in 2021, and $56.773 million in 2022. That is a lot of money, a lot of advantage taking, in my opinion, of people who think that they're fighting the most noble cause, right? To end human sex trafficking. And it's disgusting. In the IRS 990 form, it is reported that Tim Ballard received a salary of over $500,000. Okay. In 2022, yet former employees claim that Ballard earned over $14 million. I believe that, through his for-profit companies, some of which was funneled from the non-profit entity. That makes sense. OUR was making staggering profits as Ballard opened, quote, for-profit companies, defendants. Companies, defendants, which were alter egos of OUR and Ballard, and that allowed Ballard to line his pockets with the widow's mite. Okay, then we go on to Mormon psychic Janet Russin. I'm trying to cram it all in now. In order to find and save trafficked children, alleged trafficked children, Ballard would receive psychic information from psychic defendant Russin. I mean, and it's disgusting what she has gone on and done on the Last Dispensations channel, in my opinion. Okay, defendant Janet Russin, about where the ops would occur or should occur, along with reassurance and justification of everything Ballard did, while predicting the future situations the operatives would be in, so that they could plan the next op, the next couple ruse. Ms. Russin claims that she spoke to a dead prophet named Nephi, who directed her about where to locate the trafficked children. Y'all, I remember catching on to this, and I did some research into it. And this made, y'all, and the video only had like less than 5,000 views. It was like 4,000 something. And she was on that Last Dispensation channel. And she was like, and it made the front page of the Salt Lake Tribune newspaper, or whatever you want to call it. It made the front page. How did something Janet Russin say on a little bitty baby YouTube channel, okay, that's basically targeting, I would say, active LDS members, okay, to feel pity for them, and it's all the victim's fault, right? And she's like, no, this is basically what I got from it. She's like, I wasn't talking about the dead ancient prophet named Nephi. I was talking about Tim Ballard's great grandfather. His name is Nephi Anderson. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, get out of here. You know what I'm saying? That made the front damn page of the Salt Lake Tribune the next day. And I'm like, I'm calling some major bullshit right here. I wish I had it keyed up so I could show it to you. Okay, from invoices by Ms. Russin to OUR, it appears that Ms. Russin has provided OUR readings from Harriet Tubman, of all people. Oh my gosh. Columbus, y'all. This is disgusting because I've read all this, and they basically say that Nephi, I'd say the ancient prophet of the Mormon Church, is Columbus. Okay, so they're obsessed with this whole Mayflower, Columbus founding of America, okay? And it goes into the whole American covenant that Tim Ballard is purporting, which I believe is distorted and a distorted view of American history, which goes right in line with those of like David Barton, who's not even Mormon, but connected, very well connected. And I mean, it's these elitist type people who are never held accountable, it seems. But I mean, it ties into Lori and Chad Daybell's case in that sense, because in Chad Daybell's ratings or whatever about who they were in past lives, Lori was allegedly Mary Smith, which I want to say was Joseph Smith Jr.'s grandmother. Okay. And I really do think that these are just actual roles that they were assigned. And they go by these other names to take part in their rituals. Okay. Perhaps maybe the murders of Tylee and JJ. In my opinion, that's just me. I don't have any proof of that. I mean, it's disgusting. And it's the secret society's way of operating and going under the radar, never being called Melanie Gibb or David Warwick or by name, so they're called Phoebe, Miriam, Joanna, Mary Smith, James and all that shit. So, I mean, that's very particular to the Mormon church because, they are issued, people who go through the temple, they're issued temple names. So it's like the demons get a name. In Chad and Lori's situation, calling Tylee Hillary, Tammy Viola, Charles Ned, Garrett, and Eplos. I don't remember. The only name I remember around JJ was Elroy or something. It's disgusting. They're disgusting. And so here we are. All right. So Ms. Russin has provided OUR readings from Harriet Tubman, Columbus, Abraham Lincoln, and miscellaneous angels. I bet. Ballard claimed in one movie that defendant Janet Russin was a miraculous informant, as if she had legitimate intelligence of the location of trafficked children, when in fact she was a psychic who gave Ballard and several other people within OUR readings, for which she was paid handsomely to provide. Oh yeah. She even made a comment on that last dispensation channel. She said that I hope these women that are basically, calling Tim out, that are blaming Tim for all these bad things, they better, she basically tells them how they need to spend the money that they are seeking, right? Because I agree. I think the only way to hit people like this are in their pockets because, they're just assholes. And they never admit to what they're doing. They're narcissists, in my opinion. This is just me. I'm not a professional, but it's so apparent. It's glaring. It slaps you in the face of how narcissists these people are. They're just like, oh, how could you? And you're just like, what? Nuts. Ballard used OUR, TNF, and TSF and its ops to fund his personal fantasies of grandeur and sexual deviance. Ballard began a program for women accompanying him on ops and called the program the Couples Ruse, which again was sanctioned by President Ballard. Ballard claims that the Couples Ruse was an undercover tool to prevent detection by pedophiles. Okay? It's stupid too. When Ballard would not engage in sexual touching of the trafficked women offered up to him in strip clubs and massage parlors across the world, Ballard would choose an attractive woman who worked at OUR or with OUR, or would invite a well-intentioned, attractive volunteer to be trained in the Couples Ruse. Mm-hmm. The women he chose had no formal training in paramilitary activities. I'd say neither did him. Neither did Tim. Or operations, but he knew they were devoted to the OUR mission of saving women and children from traffickers. Ballard also knew that these individuals were vulnerable and did not have the knowledge or experience to question him on his unorthodox tactics. There's a big write-up from a CIA agent. It's Lynn K. Packer, he's also on AmericanCrimeJournal.com, him and Damian Moore. And there's a big old write-up from a CIA agent who just shreds Tim's credibility in all this crap. Okay. I mean, he's actually, or he alleges, the CIA agent alleges that, this is not at all how CIA ops go down, which I ain't got no dog in that hunt. I don't too much trust them either. But just saying, it's interesting to go read. Okay. Ballard also knew that these individuals were vulnerable and did not have, okay, I already said that. Additionally, one of the primary methods Ballard employed to attempt in choosing couple ruse partners was to rely on psychic information received from defendant Janet Russin, a salaried OUR employee, who would provide a mix of psychic information and Mormon buzzwords to claim that God had selected the woman. I mean, she's, in my opinion, she's the Ghislaine Maxwell to the Jeffrey Epstein. That's just me. Whatever. Ballard claims that he implemented strict rules regarding the couple's ruse. No kissing on the lips and no touching or exposing private parts. In my opinion, this sounds a lot like Mormon soaking. Okay? That's just me. Tim Ballard issues statement debunking baseless sexual allegations. This is September 19th. This 2 days after he was publicly distanced from the Mormon Church. The Spear Fund, an organization funding and collaborating with a coalition of experts, organizations, and concerned citizens from around the globe to end human trafficking in our time, is releasing a statement on behalf of senior advisor Tim Ballard. Quote, as with all of the assaults on my character and integrity over many years, the latest tabloid-driven sexual allegations are false. They are baseless inventions designed to destroy me and the movement we have built to end the trafficking and exploitation of vulnerable children. During my time at OUR, I designed strict guidelines for myself and OUR operators in the field, or our operators in the field. Sexual contact was prohibited, and I led by example. Given our meticulous attention to this issue, any suggestion of inappropriate sexual contact is categorically false. Unquote. OUR even developed a couples ruse agreement to make the tactic look like it was an effective, well-designed program. I can't read it to see it, to even tell it to you. However, as has been stated by multiple legitimate sources, including current OUR CEO Tammy Lee. I wonder if this is, related to Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee, who also spoke at Firm Foundation, Firm Expo, Book of Mormon Evidence. I don't think he spoke on Preparing a People, but they all know each other, however, has been stated by multiple legitimate sources, including current, OUR CEO Tammy Lee and OUR agent and employee Matthew Osborne. The couple's ruse is no way, shape, or form a legitimate, effective, or ethical method for conducting anti-child trafficking operations. Ballard appears to have invented this, quote, technique purely for the opportunity it provided him to select, groom, manipulate, coerce, traffic, and exert control over women for his own devious desires of sexual pleasure and gratification. Ballard used the couple's ruse for his ops done with OUR, as well as those done with TNF and TSF, and his partners in Slave Stealers and Liberty 89. One of Ballard's favorite couples ruse partner, y'all. I caught this before she took it down. I don't feel sorry for this woman right here. She's in on the ruse, if you know what I mean, in my opinion. One of Ballard's favorite couples ruse partners, or I'd say masterminds, was Hollywood actress Marisol Nichols. She's a Scientologist who has denied that. Oh, and she also has her own nonprofit organization. So again, it's gross. I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they're doing anything good or well-intentioned like it sounds. You know what I'm saying? They're claiming to be all these humanitarian movements and anti-trafficking and just save the kids. But I don't see that at all. That facade fell long ago. I mean, I just was super suspicious of Tim Ballard when he flew up onto my radar because I knew that there were connections to Chad and Lori. Through the speaking events that he would go to. I mean, he's photoed with Jason Mao even. at these events that Chad would speak at, that Lori would go to, that Melanie Pulaski allegedly donated to, that were, I mean, there's too much of just these loose connections even, I know there's more context to the story. I'm trying to get there. Who has denied that anything inappropriate ever happened. Shocker, right? I mean, I have this, I need to upload it so that everybody can see the entire interview that was taken down the very next day. Okay, well, Ballard bragged to OUR, TNF, and TSF employees that he and Marisol showered together naked while on an op, and that she had fallen in love with him and tried to kiss him. I bet. Such a victim. At one point, whether Ballard requested it or Janet Russin received, quote, revelation. Oh, Lord. Janet Russin, as a paid employee of OUR, provided a psychic reading to Ballard, informing him that he did not have to obey the couple's rules because he was a prophet. Don't you know? That's a damn cult leader. If you ever ask me if there is a cult leader in this story, it is not Chad Daybell. It is Tim Ballard. Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow are just a sideshow. Okay. That I don't think was, really, I think they were really banking on my parents not, just letting JJ go, just buying Lori's story that, and they'd wait till he's 18, to contact him. But I mean, that really blew up in their face. They don't know my mom. So, and so I'm going to go read this because it says, right here, see Exhibit F for transcription of an audible reading by Janet Russin to defendant Ballard, whereby she gives him permission to not obey the couple's rules because defendant Ballard is a prophet and the ruse rules do not apply to prophets. Can you imagine? There's other prophets in that church. To prophets because the rules are arbitrary. Okie doke. I mean, it's just man's law, God's law. Don't do as I do as I say, is what I'm getting. Okay, Ballard soon began abusing the couple's ruse and eventually used the ruse as a tool for sexual grooming. While with his chosen female operative, Ballard would engage in oral sex and other forms of sexual gratification for himself, claiming that if he did not kiss the operative on the lips or penetrate the operative with his penis, his little penis, he was obeying the couple's ruse rules and was keeping his Mormon church covenants not to engage in sexual relations with anyone with whom he was not legally and lawfully wedded. Gross. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm gonna find a good stopping point soon. Eventually, Ballard did violently penetrate some of his operatives and kissed at least one. Uh-oh. It's like, don't look into the eyes, this is windows to the soul. I'm just saying. So ridiculous, this guy. Which caused the operative to believe it invalidated their work using the couple's ruse. I feel bad for these ladies. I do. I'm so glad they're so brave for speaking out. I'm so thankful for you. Thank you. Additionally, as part of either an op or practice for the op, Ballard would often share a bed with a woman posing as his girlfriend, because that makes so much sense, or invite her to shower in his bathroom, even though accommodations at designated, quote, safe houses, hotels, or Airbnbs provided separate bedrooms and bathrooms. Before they ever went undercover together, Ballard insisted that he first needed to ensure that he and his female counterparts in the couple's ruse had physical, quote, chemistry. That would be obvious to those they would meet during an operation. This makes me freak out because, I mean, there's that clip I found that Lauren Matthias, Megan Connor, Mindy Caldwell, they appeared on Mormon Stories podcast with John Dehlin. And I mean, when I heard my name, I was like, what did I do? It's like, it's weird whenever you're watching a video and I heard my name, like I was in trouble or something. And they shared a clip that I had uploaded that I had stumbled upon. And it was Tim Ballard boasting about research that, alleged research that Thom Harrison had done about pheromones, basically hormones, oxytocin, all these feel good things. And they get that from service. Okay. And I'm calling bullshit on that too. Oh, and Tim also said that Thom Harrison was, he's a Mormon therapist, right? Another one that Chad and Julie would go meet, allegedly. Portal guy. They weren't meeting him for, counseling. I don't think. That's portal guy. That he was teaching them how to portal. And in my opinion, I believe that's remote viewing. So for what it's worth, I don't think it was anything good. And it makes me question the hell out of Thom Harrison. Big time. Okay. Not only was that book found on Lori's person twice, for sure at the crime scene where my uncle was murdered in Arizona, but also talked about between Lori and Zalema and some of the captured text communications between them and the FOIA docs. And also the Visions of Glory book being under Lori's leg. I haven't listened to this speech as much as any other ones on Hidden True Crime. They're the only ones that have the speech of the day that Lori met Chad, and he told her that they had been married in past lives. And so Tim has used the same line, so has Janet Russin. So I'm like, what the hell's really going on here? Okay. It's not unique just to Chad and Daybell's case at all. It's on Saturday's Warrior too, which, is, was a common show that was popular to, I guess you could say, LDS members that are kind of Chad and Lori's age or generation. Okay. It was used in that too. So, this is not very unique, unfortunately. Julie Rowe is alleged to have used the same pickup line to men that she was trying to allegedly get them to sign their property over to her, which makes me think of Heather Daybell and Matt Daybell and how Chad was trying to incorporate and say that they lived in a special place that would become part of end times, basically when Armageddon would happen, I guess. Just it goes on and on and on. And it's a lot of weird. It's a lot of weird, but it's very specific to these people. Okay. Okay, before they went into, I already said all that. Ballard encouraged female operatives to participate in tantric massages before and while on a couple's ruse. Ballard claimed, Chad and Lori would do yoga. I don't know if that has anything to do as massages, but I'm just saying, it's just like these new age beliefs mixed in with early church doctrine that, in my opinion, has not really been addressed. It might have been disavowed, but I don't think it's been addressed at all. There's no clear line by the leadership of the church saying, hey, knock it off. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Ballard claimed to be so concerned about the believability of the couple's ruse, because he knew it was bullshit, in my opinion, that he frequently asked women to, quote, practice their couple's ruse long before a mission ever took place. To that end, Ballard flew women across the country. That's called human trafficking. Okay. Where they would, quote, practice their sexual chemistry through tantric yoga, couples massages with escorts, and lap dancing on Ballard's lap. Just because she dances go-go, don't make her a hoe, no. I'm just figuring. All right. I'm just going to laugh every now and then. All right. OUR's and TNF's director of foreign operations, Matt Osborne, and others from OUR also participated in the couple's ruse with escorts in a 5-star Mexico City hotel. At least one witness observed defendant Matt Osborne making out with this escort, who is now working in Argentina, alone in a hotel room in Mexico City with no traffickers or children. Here we go. Or law enforcement around. I get the vibe here of Alex Cox Googling trannies. Okay. I'm just saying, I'm not saying this woman is or whatever. I'm not trying to say anything. This goes hand in hand with the weirdness that's going on in these cases. Okay. Here's another one. Again, I'll repeat what I just said. I don't want to repeat it, but basically, yeah. Here's a text message. This is Matt O up in the room. If you need anything, do you have the Wi-Fi password? How about too many kids? I'm kidding. That's not a joke. But anyways, it says room 4301 under what name? So sorry. Something 4301. I'll be in soon. Is that okay? Would you rather be with her alone? What's working best? Give me 20 minutes before, please. I'm sorry. Give me 20 minutes more, please, with praying hands. You just text me. General Reyes participated in foreign ops where the couple's ruse was being implemented, where he stayed at the same safe house as Ballard and his, quote, ruse girlfriends, and was aware of the couple's ruse. Attorney General. Given that General Reyes is the highest law enforcement officer in Utah, this appeared to validate that the couple's ruse was a legitimate law enforcement tactic. I mean, you got ecclesiastical condoning it, saying, hey, it's good. It's got my blessing, Then you have the attorney general on the law side being like, just basically endorsing it like it's normal. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of see where this could be really confusing for these ladies who are just going in trying to fight human trafficking. They're picking up on what Tim Ballard is selling, basically, and what a lot of people are picking up on and endorsing because they donate to this fool. Okay, given that General Ray, okay, I already said that. Ballard also frequented strip clubs and massage parlors in the Salt Lake Valley. I would love to hear people's stories about this. With these women to, quote, practice the couple's ruse. Ballard conducted a practice op at the Salt Lake Marriott, that's owned by Mormon, that's Marriott, downtown at City Creek, where various faux operators would be, quote, tempted by various faux escorts to partake sexually. That sounds so damn stupid. Let's set up a fake op. Okay. And have, oh my God, just think about that. Ballard has publicly stated that some of the women acted inappropriately with him. Him's a victim, okay, at this event, despite setting the event up to, quote, tempt him and others. Oh my God, it's like classic projection and classic. Oh my God. Ballard included his son, Blaine Ballard, who had just returned from serving a mission for the Mormon Church, to the strip clubs and practice op at the Marriott. I'm sure he was just training him, in my opinion. That's kind of goes hand in hand with what Hamblin is accused of doing by his daughters. Basically they're training their children, and I said it, training. I think this is where Pamela, oh hell, what's her name? From the Hildebrandt Frankie case. Oh my God, I can't remember her last name, but there's body cam footage of the older Frankie children being there the day that R and E, were rescued, I'd say, from the Hildebrandt compound. And some horrific abuse was going on there. And this is like some kind of something going on in southern Utah, Springville, Provo, St. George, I want to say, I don't know all the names, but southern Utah. And when I talked to Goel about it, he expressed concern about like Chad Daybell having access to cemetery. And I'm like, for what? Like I was just so green. I was just like, what? And he was like, because they're necromancers, they do some really weird shit at cemeteries. And I'm like, oh my God, I never even thought about that, but that makes sense. So I go back and I'll listen to the guy that just testified in Chad Daybell's trial. I forget his name, starts with S, but he actually testified the same day that the realtor, who I also think is shady. I'm glad for what he said and snarking back at John Pryor, but I think it's all, to get us to not really look further than that. We like him because he snarked back at the defense attorney. You know what I'm saying? So look a little past that. I just don't think that, he talked about Keith Levitt, I would say is who he's talking about, and Suzanne Levitt. Just that last name right there ties to David Levitt, in my opinion, over there in Utah. And I mean, how come these people aren't on the stand? How come Suzanne and Keith Levitt, or Keith that's referred to by David, by Melanie Gibb, by Ron, what's his name? I don't have it memorized yet. Arnold. I'm just kind of looking into more background about that. I think it's like a club. I really do. I think it's a good old boys club, and they're all about harming and doing this practice of sacrificial, child sacrifice, whatever the hell it is that they are doing. Maybe they belong to the Church of Satan or the LDS Church of Satan. I'm sorry. And I think that's really gross. And I mean, if you're an active Mormon, don't you want to know? Or do you want to continue sitting next to these people? Do you want to expose them? I do, because they hurt my family. And especially Tylee and JJ, who are just children and no longer have their lives to live because they were taken. And then you think back to Lori saying, no one was murdered here. No one was murdered in this case. And that's because of the semantics and the mental gymnastics that they want to play. And they're okay with justifying it that way. And, I mean, they weren't murdered in Lori's mind. That's how she has to live with this. They weren't murdered. They were sacrificed. Don't you know? I'm just saying. Ballard engaged in a ploy where he would tell the women that if they were offered alcohol, which is forbidden by the Mormon Church, that she should take the drink and then open a mouth, kiss him, and spit the alcohol into his mouth. And then he would spit it out when the traffickers were not looking. However, Ballard was fortuitously given his command to write a book for the Mormon Church declaring that the word of wisdom was not true doctrine, thus allowing him to consume excessive amounts of alcohol, tequila, of his own volition, which he drank at strip clubs, massage parlors, on flights, and on trips to the point of passing out. Cheers. Right? For example, he missed a $250,000 speaking engagement. Can you imagine giving this dude $500,000 to speak, and then he was too damn drunk to show up? Missed his flight. Upon belief and suspicion, Ballard was also addicted to cocaine and various narcotics, was begging employees of OUR for Ritalin, which is for ADHD children, usually, or people with ADHD or ADD, was obtaining street drugs through defendant Matt Cooper. Again, this reminds me of why the hell there was GHB in my 7-year-old nephew's system. There's no reason for it. I know that the medical examiner or whatever said that, your body produces some, but I mean, no. Not in this case. No, because it's a normal thing that happens in ritual abuse. They drug them up and then they abuse them or murder them. Can you imagine the freakery that was going on in the last moment of Tylee and JJ's lives? It bothers me. Upon belief and suspicion, I already said that. Ballard has admitted to his alcohol use and his addiction to Xanax and Ambien. Oh, here we go. Celeste, I love you. I wish you would have talked to me and encouraged me to talk to my wife and children about drinking. He's so bullshitting. Not just reveal it and blindside them. Oh my God. That's, anyways, Celeste, I love you. I wish you could. I mean, he's like bitching at her for contacting his wife and blowing the whistle on Tim Ballard, right? But you blindsided them, right? Oh my God. Not just reveal it and blindside them. Is that fair? Nobody is calling you a liar, by the way. I admitted to Kay I had been drinking, Catherine, but I got sick on horrible food that night and it kept me up until very late. I'm sure that was his excuse to his wife, maybe, but I mean, she's in on it too, in my opinion. I thought we could make it as Alex said we could on the second flight. I'm sorry, I didn't read that right. I thought we could make it as Alex said we could on the second flight. Okay. Through these couple's ruses, both in the office and in the field, Ballard eventually engaged in coerced sexual contact with several women and propositioned others. Ballard participated in several sexual acts with the exception of actual penetration, Mormon soaking, in various states of undress while on an ops mission. Ballard developed a sexual position, I'm sure it was missionary, Sorry. Where it appeared he was having full-on sexual intercourse with his couple's ruse victims while not actually penetrating. While inside private accommodations when no one else was around, that they needed to fool. Ballard would claim that he and his female partner had to maintain the appearance of a romantic relationship at all times in case suspicious traffickers might be surveilling them at any moment. Right? Who gives a shit? It's all about money. And so you're not go that far just to convince freaking deplorable people that you're moral. Okay? It ain't happening. Ballard requested the women he invited to act as his significant other. Then why not ask Catherine? Okay. To first have a Brazilian wax. Why not hire these women as a babysitter so you can bring your own damn wife? Okay. If you're not doing anything bad, just throwing that out there. Ballard would ask each woman, quote, "Is there anything you wouldn't do to save a child?" Unquote. To further convince these women of his need for them on the next ops mission, Ballard would badmouth previous female partners, claiming that the women who had allegedly gone on couples ruses in the past were crazy. He would say they're crazy. This is a common tactic, okay? Lori, crazy. I don't think she's crazy, but she ain't that kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they do that to discredit and to character assassinate and to make these people unbelievable, you know? Or not believable, I should say. And claiming that they had fallen in love with him along the way. Ballard used these mythical stories to motivate the women in his couple's ruse to prove their mettle and their devotion to the cause and loyalty to him by trying to outdo their supposed predecessors. And so pitting them against each other. Pitting them against each other is common. I'm so swollen. Okay, when these women found themselves questioning the legitimacy of tactics involving sexual contact, they often doubted their own instincts, relying on Ballard's breadth of knowledge about rescue missions to convince themselves that such tactics were normal. I'm going to go to the next bullet point, or the, headline, or whatever you want to call it. Other employees of OUR, including Ballard's sister, Emily Evans, would warn these women not to question Ballard, or their lives would be put in danger. Threat. Right. Ballard would also tell the women that engaging in sex play with him would improve their marriage. Oh, God. Even as he also told them not to tell their husbands about what they were doing, or it would compromise the damn mission. Children, their lives, and other informants' lives. Can you imagine? So it says, in the mind of the victims, this was very real and serious, as the cartel was essentially all-knowing and seeing. Oh my God, can you imagine? Ballard would repeatedly warn these women that if they failed in their couple's ruse mission, they would have wasted the hard-earned money that honest donors had entrusted to OUR, or be caught or killed by the cartel. Ballard would also tell these women that Janet Russin or Catherine had chosen them to be part of the couple's ruse, hand-selected. Janet Russin was at a couple's ruse training whereby various women were applying to be an operative with Tim Ballard. Just imagine them flying in on that damn helicopter and, just all the things, all the people backing him, president, apostle of the Mormon Church, the Utah Attorney General. Just all the people, Tony Robbins, Glenn Beck, all the people. Janet Russin would help in the selection and choice of the couple's ruse partners. I bet she would. Jolene. Text messages confirm that both defendant Russin and defendant Catherine chose the women to sacrifice to Ballard for his couple's ruse sexploits. Sacrifice. It's part of it. Ballard would use spiritual manipulation to coerce them into sexual contact. Almost all of the women involved are or were Mormon. If the woman said she was not Mormon, oh yeah, this reminds me of the MWBE club, which is the Mormon Women with Blue Eyes club, okay, that Tim Ballard was purporting, okay. I saw that on Fox 13 News website and Twitter or X. If the women said she was not Mormon, Ballard would exclaim, quote, "Oh, that's great. That means you're more open-minded," unquote. What an asshole. Ballard did claim that President M. Russell Ballard had given Ballard permission to do the couple's ruse as long as there was no sexual intercourse, wink, wink, or kissing on the lips, and had given him a special priesthood blessing as such. No, thank you. OUR management adopted and accepted the couple's ruse as a standard policy and procedure of the company and allowed Ballard unrestrained allowance on how he enacted the couple's ruse. So he was just being propped up by everybody else. Ballard would also, and they were benefiting from the either participating in these things too, the couple's ruse thing, and or lining their pockets. Okay. Ballard would also claim that a passage from the Book of Mormon in which a man kills another man. Here we go. It's Layman and Lemuel, or is it Nephi and Laban? I don't remember. All of a sudden, on the promptings of the Holy Spirit, demonstrates that sometimes the Holy Spirit asks people to perform, quote, unconventional tasks. Again, I mean, this is a strong connection to a Layman and Lemuel ending, I think, or Laban and, oh my God, never mind, with my Uncle Charles, okay? Ballard would also claim to the women that defendant Janet Russin told him that he had been married to them in a previous life. Again, it's very specific. And I mean, it's just very specific to these people, and not just these people, but also in my former aunt's case, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. Okay. And so their conduct was appropriate. Not. Additionally, Ballard would get ketamine treatments and have a scribe come in with him while he would talk to the dead prophet Nephi and issue forth prophecies. Again, cult leader. Which he had also received as, oh shit, I just really got this, as blessings from Thom Harrison, author of Visions of Glory. Let me read that again. Additionally, Ballard would get ketamine treatments and have a scribe come in with him while he would talk to the dead prophet Nephi and issue forth prophecies. So Ballard would get, okay, I guess receive revelation from Nephi and issue forth prophecies, which he had also received as, quote, blessings. So are these prophets, is that another buzzword or keyword that I need to, kind of implement whenever I'm researching the case about Chad and Lori? Okay, from Thom Harrison, author of Visions of Glory, about Ballard's greatness and future as a United States Senator, which, I mean, there's even talk, or, that has come out in this case against Tim Ballard, that he met in the Salt Lake City airport with Senator Mike Lee, who's, he's really affiliated with John Huntsman, and John Huntsman is the former governor of Utah, I want to say, and his name was found in Jeffrey Epstein's Little Black Book. So, I mean, you do the math. Okay. So he was meeting with Senator Mike Lee about the game plan, basically, to become a U.S. Senator, for Tim Ballard to become one. Okay, about Ballard's greatness and future as, President of the United States, and ultimately the Mormon prophet to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. Ballard would also claim to his female ruse partners that if his wife Catherine were to die, sounds like a damn Tammy and Chad prophecy, or Chad's prophecies about Tammy. Just saying. He would immediately marry them. I mean, all of them, or what? Ballard told one of his victims that when his wife would question what Ballard was doing with these women, Ballard would tell his wife that his female partners kept falling in love with him and wanted to kill Catherine so they could be together. Sounds like Lori and damn Chad. Just saying. Ballard would insist that these women stay silent about their alleged sexual encounters with him, because if they told anyone, it would put everyone's life at risk on the ops mission. It was necessary to save the trafficked children, don't you know? And because he was blessed by President Ballard to be a future president. So it wasn't just Thom Harrison saying that he was a future president of the United States and future prophet of the Mormon Church. It was also said by President Ballard. So there you go. That's two people for sure. Thom Harrison and President Dan Ballard. After the women were coerced into engaging in sexual activity with Ballard, he used their encounters to his advantage, sending texts to some of the women that would say something to the effect of, quote, "We will have so much shit on each other. We will be deterred into silence on all things forever." That's stupid. Okay. That's the stupidest shit I ever heard. But I mean, it's blackmail. It's what goes on. I think it's going on in Chad Daybell's, people that are testifying, like the realtor, like even maybe he worked in Springville with Chad. I mean, it's just weird. I don't like it. He testified on the same day as Ron Arnold, the realtor that told John Pryor something snarky. So anyways, Ballard gave the women burner phones to use and had them use Signal, a messaging app that keeps communication private. Well, I think in Chad and Lori's case, they used Shmuel, which wasn't private, because we got to see some of those. And he frequently demanded that the women erase the digital traces of his conversation with them each night. Ballard, okay, we're almost there. Ballard also threatened the women that he was tracking them with their burner phones and company phones he provided. Additionally, he required the women he asked to go on ops as part of the couple's ruse to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, claiming it was required to protect the safety of the children and the participants. Ballard would then threaten to sue the women if they ever disclosed anything about his tactics, practice ops, or the couple's ruse. At least 2 marriages have broken up. Oh, there's 2 now. There was one. Well, maybe I just wasn't aware. At least 2 marriages have broken up as a result of Tim Ballard's actions with these women. Ballard offered to pay. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Ballard offered to pay for the divorce attorney of one of his victims, and he had a henchman call and threaten her husband on voice message, resulting in the police being called and a report filed. Oh my gosh, I'd love to see that. Oh, ooh. Okay, let me just read these names and then we'll stop. Oh, yours, financial fraud, garners, donors, silence. Ballard became friends with real estate, just saying. I don't know how to say that. Magnates? I don't know. Such as, again, I don't know how to pronounce this. Tavachi? Scott Keller of oh my God, that's who Arnold works for or whatever. I don't know how that works. Scott Keller of Keller Investment Properties. I think that's him. Or the same company. Paul Hutchinson, M. Brett Jensen. That's another name that shows up, another last name, that shows up in the Hamblin statements. I look at last names for sure. Ballard's uncle Craig Anderson of C.H. Anderson Construction. Okay, Tim Ballard's dad, I want to say, works for them too or something. When I did some background stuff on Dennis Ballard and Melanie Ballard, Tim's parents, because I was like, I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see them for myself. I was like, Anyways, I did a video on it. Brad Damon, Eric Robinson, Jeffrey Frazier, Sean Wolfington, Simon Brewer. Ooh, Allie Brewer. Remember how Chad Daybell said Allie Brewer and her husband, who was a cop, they were dark, right? Okay. Brad Brower, that's his son-in-law. Scott Gordon, Brittany Turner, David Jacobs, Mark Stott, Douglas Free, Todd Tueller. He is on the, I want to say, the Spear Fund board. Bryson Paxton, Jonathan Marquis. This is what got me. I was like, John Nemelka. That reminds me of Chris Nemelka. Remember, he was an alleged wannabe prophet. Chris Smith, Kenneth Kroger. I wonder if they own Kroger. David Barton. There's that David Barton name. Jonathan Dodd, Al Jackson. Like Alan Jackson? I wonder. Mel Gibson, Bess Pearson, Rad Barrett. Oh my God. I think I've heard Chris say this name right here. I think, or sent me some stuff about it or on Facebook. David Lopez. Okay. Dave Lopez and several others. All right. So we're going to, okay. Just to note that, Sean Reyes is the lava fund. Okay. I need to just do a video and just put it out like that because I'm never going to finish. Never going to damn finish. Uh-oh. Am I in there? Well, how come it won't go away? Let's see. Let me try that. Okay. It won't change aspects. Okay. Let me stop sharing. How about that? Now? Oh. I know why. I got to start my camera. Oh my God. I can't find my way out of a wet paper damn bag. Oh God. Can you eat lye? I'd hope not. Probably not good for you. No, I just colored my hair red and you can see. But anyways. Oh yeah. Miss 56. I have those screenshots. I don't have them on tap or anything, but didn't Emma Daybell do a fundraiser for OUR on September 7th, 2019? There's a picture of Emma Daybell, her husband Joseph Murray, which is, I think, it's alleged that Tammy Daybell was there to kind of watch the baby while they fundraised for Operation Underground Railroads. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Oh, it's crazy, right? I'm just, oh God, it goes so deep and it's so much of the same kind of rhetoric. And I mean, come on, this is some weird stuff. And it's weird stuff. And so, yes, September 7th, that's just a couple days before Tylee was murdered. The next day, September 8th, I'm replying to Bewitch, like September 8th, Chad and Tammy went to go up her life insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, again, I mean, why would the crazy just stop at Chad and Lori? It's so much more above and around them. And I'm just like, no, this is just something that I don't think was meant to ever blow up so big. Okay. And I think that Melanie Gibb is part of it. I think that David Warwick is part of it. I think they participated. That's just my opinion. They're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And I think that they're lying. I think that they, came up with a alibi story or something. Kind of like I think that Audrey Bertero did too. After the fact, with a little bit of what's going on in the media and then how to come up with an alibi based around what they know and what's out. And that's why there's so much lying and you can't ever pin anything down and stories keep slightly changing, just like Chad's story about how Tammy died, how she was found dead. And because I'd say the reason for that, is that they are in this little secret club or whatever. It's not so secret anymore. And there's so much shit on each other, like Tim Ballard just said, that it would drive everybody into silence. Okay. Just like Tim Ballard just said. And, oh, wow. Elizabeth Russell. Yeah. It just stinks to the celestial kingdom. Okay. But I think that they just blackmail each other. I really do. And so because Chad and Lori were on trial, they can't say nothing. And you watched her. I watched Lori's face while David Warwick was testifying and she was pissed. And I'm not saying I believe either one of them, but it was interesting to see her respond to what he was saying and testifying to, raising the right arm to the square and swearing on a Bible that I don't believe they too much believe in. To tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Wink, wink. Lying for the Lord. So help me God. To me, it's how they continue to dupe people and just pretending like they're just gullible, good Mormons who just got tangled up in something that they were already involved in. Okay. First off, they were already involved in this shit. They just, in my opinion, we haven't found the bodies, we haven't found the victims. That's just how I look at it. Yeah. I mean, and Christianity, period, is more dangerous than anyone imagined. It's gross. It's bad. It's scary. It's scary. And I mean, my whole point in this is just to hopefully pull. Oh God dang, Siri! I didn't summons her. You know what I'm saying? Cheese and rice. Okay, but it's just I forgot what I was saying. Thank you. Lucifer loves the lies, right? Yeah, and it's definitely the dark arts that they are practicing. You can by ye fruits ye shall know, Tammy Daybell, right? Amen. I mean, it's just it's obvious, you know, and so whether they admit to it or not, I don't care. Again, I don't believe them. I don't believe anything that they say. There's some truth that comes out. I try to weave it into the bigger story. You know what I'm saying? And what I was saying is I want to be able to kind of pull from all this crap, whether trial testimony, whether court records, whether statements made, you know, with all this weird stuff. I want to try and pull together, not force, but just put it out there, you know, like, hey, this could very well be connected. This could paint a more clear, more accurate picture of what really happened around the murders of Tylee and JJ and Charles and Tammy and Joe and all the other victims who are not believed, who are blackmailed into silence, perhaps, or have, you know, how these people, Satanists, whatever you want to call them, are maybe blackmailing other people who aren't in their club, you know, but they have something on them. They get, anyways, there's things that happen and it's gross. They're gross and I'm good. But anyways, I've kept y'all for 3 hours and 6 minutes and I appreciate y'all spending this time with me and listening to me. I feel like I'm kind of reading okay. You know, I have my days where I'm just like, oh my God, go back to sleep. But anyways, and plus we have court in the morning, like Diddy, right? Mom asked me that. I was like, I won't even look at it yet because I already know. I'm just like, I can't fit any more information into my brain. Because it's like keeping up with the case details, you know, between Lori and Chad, as well as the Hamblin case, as well as Tim Ballard, as well as Thom Harrison. I mean, just all these people. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't, I can't fit it there yet. Wait till after this trial. Seriously, y'all, seriously though, y'all look at the Temple of Isis in Pahrump. I think that's how you say it. Nevada. It's wild. The magicians all battle each other. Oh my God. There's a magician also included or mentioned between Jason Mao, who allegedly was in Billings, Montana the same weekend that JJ was murdered, but I don't think it's true. I think it's a bullshit story. You can look at the flyers, they're not as detailed. There's mistakes to be made. It's just not, it's like, oh, we had breakfast, lunch, dinner, a mixer. And anyway, I'm just like, okay. At a singles word. I think it's bullshit. That's me. It's not true. I don't know if it's true because these people don't tell the truth, in my opinion. So this is just my speculation and my rumor. So yeah, I agree. Lutefisk. I think that's how you say your Lutefisk, or I'll just stop. Love you too, RDNAC. I love you too, Carolyn A. I know, Chris. Oh my God. All right. But I'll see you guys in the morning. I got to schedule that as soon as I get off here. Donna, thank you so much for picking up my slack and, you know, just being on time all the time and dependable. So thank you to my moderators too. I feel like I'm accepting a damn reward or something. Right? I'm not. I'm just saying it just feels, that's what it feels like. But thank you, mods. And thank you, chat, for, you know, keeping it keeping it real. Thank you for keeping the peace. You know what I'm saying? Like just being good chatters with everyone. and, you know, a good community. It's the best community ever. So I'll see you tomorrow morning. All right. Be there or be square. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. Love always wins. You guys are proof of this. You're welcome. Thank you, TC.